Welcome to the Space Dreamers podcast, a Sumadre production.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Liftoff and the clock has started.
Roger, 0G, and I feel fine. Roger, 0G, and I feel fine.
Who's gonna start us off? This is weird. No microphone. I mean, no headphones.
Headphones.
Yeah,
we
it's
got
super
mics.
weird.
It is weird.
All right, we did do it though. Remember Childhood's End?
Yeah, we've done it. We've done it twice. Didn't we do it twice? Childhood's End
I've
and
never- I
million,
think that's-
a billion names
Oh
of
yeah,
God.
9 billion names of
No,
God.
I'm
Okay,
sorry, a billion. Wow,
9
billion.
All right. Welcome to the Space Dreamers podcast. This is an extremely special episode for so many reasons, such as there are 4 people on the mics right now, and in addition to that, we are talking about the book that is the reason I started this podcast. The book that is, it's like my Bible, basically. And it's one of those things. Okay, here's the thing: the next author I do on this podcast, it's got to be someone that I'm not already obsessed with, because I don't know what to say about this book. Like I've been brooding with this book in my brain since I was 18, and like I used to think it's like my favorite book in the world ever, but I don't know if that's true. But anyway, so let's introduce ourselves. My name's Jared Parisi. I'm the host of the Space Dreamers podcast. With me, I have 3 co-hosts. They have all been on the show before. So introduce yourselves. Let's go clockwise from me.
Oh, hi. I'm Heather.
I'm Mallory.
I'm Amy.
Yes. So everyone, you guys aren't this giggly when it's just me and one of you. Okay. So we're talking about 2001, A Space Odyssey by Arthur C. Clarke, written in 1968. You guys, okay. Whew. I have so much information about this book.
That's what
From-
I'm really excited
Dude,
about.
We
No,
should
you gotta
all talk about our current relationship with this book.
Okay.
Like, not talk about it, but say it.
Okay, yeah, okay. No, I think it's a good idea. And in terms of like what the book is about or whatever, I am 100% going to have Heather do a plot description. But let's get there. Okay. I've given this I've told this story before, blah, blah, blah. I watched 2001: A Space Odyssey when I was 18 years old with my friends, immediately went to the library, got 2001, read it, loved it, ordered all the sequels off Amazon, read them, read all the books that were in my library. I became obsessed at that moment. And I'm pretty sure this is the 3rd time I've read it. I think, and obviously, like, I still love the movie. As I get older, I find the movie to be a bit, like, been there, done that, sitting here for like 20 minutes. But it's, I think it's the best science fiction movie ever made. But we're not here to talk about the movie. Heather, tell us about well, actually, no, should we save you for last?
Sure.
Okay. Amy, you've probably told the story already, but like, what's your relationship with the book?
When I was in high school, tried to watch the movie. I got partway through the monkeys, and I was like, I can't do this. So I turned it off and didn't think anything more of it until you, Jared, watched the movie and were like really, really excited about it. And then I think, birthday, Christmas, something, you gifted me the book, and I read the book and my mind was literally blown.
Okay, real quick. So Amy and I read The Deep Range, and if you've been following this, you'll be aware of what we talked about, which is the fact that Amy and I both agreed that The Deep Range was the best Clarke book so far. Mm-hmm. And I even said it in the interview. I was like, dude, this might be better than 2001. I was on drugs when I said, no, I wasn't really on drugs, but boy, was that wrong. This book,
Yeah.
we'll get to it, but my goodness, it is
Yep.
on another level. Mallory, what's up? Did I cut you short, Amy?
No, I think that's the end of it.
Well, you've read all the sequels, right?
Right. So after I read this book, I then couldn't get enough of Clarke and read all the sequels after that, along with like Rama and I think that might have been it. But then I definitely watched the movie and loved the movie once I knew that, like, you got past the monkeys. It was a totally different thing.
Yeah. Actually, one statistic from this book
Yeah.
that I got so far, 41 minutes of dialogue.
What's the book?
The book is, it's called Space Odyssey. Stanley Kubrick, Arthur C. Clarke, and the Making of a Masterpiece by Michael Benson. It came out in, like, kind of recently, like within the last 10 years. But one statistic I got from that book is that, and I don't know how you determine this, but whatever, I'll trust him. I'm sure his criteria is legitimate. 41 minutes of dialogue, 100 minutes of no dialogue.
Wow.
That's wild.
That's the ratio in that film.
wow.
So,
Jeez.
anyway.
Yeah. So that's my story. Reading it, this is the second time I've read it, and I loved every single second of it.
So much better than Deep Range, right?
Oh, so
That's
much
so
better.
different.
Definitely way different,
Yeah.
but just so good.
Okay, Mallory, hit it.
2001 was my first Clarke book, which Amy introduced me to. I don't even know how we got on the topic of it, of reading the book, but I decided to read it and fell in love with it. Read all the sequels, read all the Ramas, and I think I did stop after that. I
That's
might
a-
have read a couple of short stories.
Well, you read some of The White Heart anyway.
Yes, yeah.
And Childhood's End.
Oh yeah, and now, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went a couple of years without reading anything of his, and then when we got into this podcast, Childhood's End, I'm really glad I read that too, because I still really like that book a
You
lot.
see the connections?
Yeah, a little bit.
Ascension of man.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
There's some similar themes. Yeah, for sure.
That was actually, it's another thing. Actually, I learned this, but also it says in the book, they were going to do Childhood's End, but somebody else had already bought the rights, and they couldn't get
you
it.
said that.
It would be too expensive to get the rights.
Really?
So 2001
was
was supposed
they?
to be Childhood's End. Stanley Kubrick and his production company.
Oh, okay.
And, well, Clarke, too, but he doesn't
Yeah.
want, like, the rights to his own story to make a movie. But, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So, Heather, what's up?
This is my first time reading this.
But not your
Am
first
I
time
the
with
only
Clarke.
person that 2001 Space Odyssey was not the first Clarke book I read? Did you
I
guys
think
all just
so.
say it was the first one you
It was
read?
the first one I
Oh,
read.
yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah,
it wasn't.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Fall of Moondust was my first book.
So, yeah, I was going to say, like, what's it like going from, like, a Fall of Moondust to 2001?
Well, yeah, I mean, this definitely seems like a better book, but I mean, I don't feel like I love this as much as you guys do.
That's okay.
To me,
good,
the book
though.
has like 3 parts, or does it actually have 3 parts?
Yeah.
Or no,
Yeah.
does it have more than
No, it
Just
doesn't.
more
have
than-
parts.
Okay.
Yeah.
3, yeah.
Well, more than
And
three, yeah.
like the first part is pretty good, and I know, like I told you, Jared, that when I first started reading it, I was like, am I reading the right book? Like, what is this?
Yeah, that's like the movie version of,
Yeah,
or the book
so,
version of the movie, really.
Yeah.
You're like, I thought this was space. What's
yeah,
the
I'm like,
monkey?
monkeys? What's going on here? And then I really liked the middle part, and the third part I just didn't love.
Okay. Well, it is confusing,
Yeah.
kind of.
I could see how.
I really loved the middle part. It was like really exciting. It
So
was,
what do you- dude, so-
and I do wonder, like, I mean, this is, I guess, like how famous the story is. Like, even though I've never read the book, I've never seen the movie, I knew about Hal, and like I knew that something bad was going to happen. So I wonder what it's like reading this and not knowing that, you know, like, or maybe seeing the movie and not
Like,
knowing it.
potentially
I don't know.
impossible, dude. Because the crazy thing is, the novel came out after the movie, and the movie was, like, at the time, it wasn't like everyone was like, this is going to be a classic that people on podcasts will be talking about in 80 years. But it was like, a lot of people saw it. And I cannot wait to tell you guys how this thing was written. If Mr. Benson over here is correct. I'm the person who's always like, someone tells me something, I'm like, yeah, but how do you know that? And here I'm reading a 500-page book written by a guy who was not there for anything that he's writing.
This book has
Sure
like
he
a
did his
pretty long
research.
forward by
Clarke.
Arthur C. Clarke. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, you might. I mean, I don't remember a lot of what I read, but you might be able to get some of that information from
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
audiobook had a really nice forward of Arthur C. Clarke that explains how the movie and the book came to be.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, and reading this book sort of felt like watching that movie.
Operation Avalanche?
No. The one with the little robot kid.
AI?
Yes. How
Dude.
that movie's like completely normal,
Dude.
and then it gets so freaking weird at the end.
That's Kubrick.
No, I know that.
That's what's so sick about that.
That's what I felt like when I was reading this.
Okay.
Like I was like, this is a pretty normal book, and then at the end I was like,
Well, hold on.
it's not.
Let's do a real quick timeout.
Okay.
Do you get it? Do you get what
I
happens to David Bowman at the end?
Well, I think he dies. I don't
Okay,
know.
hold
Then
on,
it
hold
could
on,
be-
Heather.
Or becomes
No,
a kid.
no, Heather, hold
I
on.
have no idea.
It's okay. Let's walk. We're gonna walk through it. You know about a certain tattoo that I have? That's from this novel.
Yes.
Okay,
He
but
would think
he
of
would
something.
think of something.
Yes.
Do you know the significance of that line? And I'll give like my
Just
interpretation.
at the end of the
So
book.
wait, it
That's also said
wasn't.
earlier in the book.
Yeah, it wasn't until I reread this book that I realized the importance of the end.
Me
Yeah,
too.
but, well,
Dude.
it is said
Listen
again.
to it again.
It's said at another time. I know.
right.
that.
Exactly.
Moonwatcher.
That's the
Yeah.
point.
Right.
So okay, this to me, this is what that line is, and I think it works beautifully with the movie because when you watch the movie, obviously you get less when you watch the movie, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you watch the movie, you go, and this will be helpful to you too, Heather, even though you haven't seen the movie. You watch the movie and you go, I think I know what that was, but I'm not entirely sure because it's ambiguous, right? But it's
Yeah.
pretty clear what's going on if you're paying attention. So my point with that line, what that line does, the repetition of that line, applying it to Moonwatcher after he's changed and David Bowman after he's changed, is basically just to prove to you that the same program or people or aliens or whatever that transformed Moonwatcher did it also to David Bowman. It's simply the next step.
Okay, but I knew that without that line. That line doesn't mean that to me.
But
Obviously, I know it's the same thing.
It just proves that it's all part of the same thing. It just proves that Moonwatcher is an early version of like.
Yeah, but I don't think that line does that. I think you just know it from reading this. That it's all related.
Yes. Okay. But that's the point of that line, is to say that Moonwatcher is the Star Child. It's like Moonwatcher and David Bowman are
Well,
like
it's the,
So,
yeah, it's
okay,
the
what,
next
What
step.
is a star child? So explain
next
that
step
it's
part.
the
in
next step of
evolution.
humanity.
So it's the next evolution,
Okay, you have
basically.
to, no. You have to like change your thinking to understand this book, and I know that sounds like what's the word, arrogant or whatever, but it's like, okay, you have to understand that like this book, the story that's told in this book, is just as plausible as the Bible. It easily could have happened. It's the same story. So basically, it's like this book suggests that we would have died out. That the things that evolved into us would have died out had they not intervened.
Yeah.
So the point is, without them, we don't exist. So it's like it's the same thing when we become the next thing. So like a monkey, think about it this way, Heather. A monkey doesn't understand a human, right? Same way a human would have no way of understanding a star child. That's the point. It's the next step. You get what I'm saying?
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
but like, why would you? It's like, I guess that arrogant maybe is the right word. Like, why would you write about something for an audience that can't understand it? Like, what's the point of that?
I do understand it though.
Yeah, so do I.
But I feel like you just said we can't imagine this idea of a star child, of this next step in evolution. So, what,
I'm saying that like you don't understand it because like you're not there yet.
Yeah,
Right.
no, I mean,
But you can understand the concept.
I think it's just hard to imagine any of what's happening at the end of this book. And I haven't seen the movie, so maybe I'll understand it. No? Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's
Not
di-
better.
I was
well,
going to say maybe
it's-
like a visual of it will help me understand it better.
I mean,
it sounded
it is helpful, but it's not. That it's definitely not the same.
So
it
another
sounded like
thing,
he was on on a ride or something. Like
Yeah.
He
and
was.
like the thing was like, and now we're gonna show you these stars flying by
Yeah.
you, and now you're gonna see this thing, and we're gonna go down even.
Yeah.
And like,
That's like
I feel
Epcot.
like a normal person would be like, this is so weird and creepy, and he's just like, Maybe I'll see what this cereal tastes like.
But he's an astronaut, so he's been trained for this.
He's a
He's
space
also probably
streamer.
freaking
Yeah.
crazy because of everything that happened to him.
There's that too.
I think he
I mean,
probably
like,
just knew like he wasn't going to come out of this alive or ever go back
explained,
home
dude.
anyway.
No,
But what does happen to him? Like he goes
Okay.
to sleep. It says he goes to sleep for the last time. So
Yes.
he dies,
No,
He
he gets
becomes
turned.
a
He gets
different-
turned into the Star Child.
which gets sent back to Earth.
Yeah,
No, he goes there himself.
yeah, to destroy all the nukes. I love how that's taken. That's not in the movie.
Yeah, you're right. That's not in the movie.
Right. Yeah. So, but just like
Which I have questions
so,
about.
Like the way I imagined it is that like when he goes to sleep, that's when his mind, like the energy in his mind, his consciousness is basically extruded from his body, his physical body, and then his physical body just disappears with the rest of this conjured room. Basically, doesn't it even say like it turns to ash? Like it all just
Yeah, the room goes away. Once
Right.
he goes to sleep, it goes
yeah.
away.
So he's been extruded. Is that the right word? Yeah.
Extracted, probably.
I know. I was like, what does extruded mean? I'm like, I don't even
Am I
know
making
what the
that
words
up?
mean.
Oh my lord. So yeah,
It
so
was
he just
extracting and
becomes
protruding.
he just becomes like a consciousness, like a floating
which is what
consciousness.
Which is what the people who or the beings who made the monolith are. That is also explained.
right.
That they left their bodies because Heather, this body, this matter that I'm attached to is a hindrance.
Well, so I mean, honestly, I feel like it's hard to read this book for the first time and then because I also just wanted to read it. So like even though I was like I'm going to take notes, but then I was like I actually just want to read this
Yeah.
and like enjoy it as a book. And then I do feel like by the end of it I was like what the hell is this even talking about?
Okay, so one other thing I just want to. Okay, do you understand like the plan? Like, do you understand? Like, I just love this concept, dude. You understand why the second monolith is where it is, right?
It's like pointing them to like where they need to go.
But
It sends out that
right, but what is so
Something.
cool about it is that it's the idea that you can hide something kind of almost in plain sight. But the idea is that the people who put the monolith on the moon and in Africa, the whole point is it's like, we're going to give you this gift and start your evolution, like jumpstart your evolution, but we know that you're not going to be ready. Like humanity will not be ready for Star Child, that level for millions of years. The only time humans will be ready for that is when we have the capability of going to the moon and detecting really strong magnetic fields. So it's like, that's brilliant.
But I thought that was cool too. It was like, because wasn't it? What is it? Is it solar
Yeah, when the
powered?
sun hits it.
Yeah.
So they were like, why would you bury something that's solar powered? Oh,
Yeah.
because then you want to know when it's been uncovered.
Exactly.
Right.
So like, I thought that was really cool. I mean, I
I
there
will
were
say
parts
that
of
I
it
did
I
have
liked, but
the first time I read this book, especially the first time even reading a Clarke novel, I had to read it like 2 or 3 times to kind of like really sink it all in, especially the last phase,
right.
because it is a little heady. So you have to like kind of deconstruct it a little bit.
I think in the last part, I like when he's in the Grand Central Station thing.
I mean, that was cool.
And I loved,
way that it
dude, I
explained
love
that.
the description of that. It was almost like he was on the other side of the universe because he explained that it was like a negative image. Do you remember that?
Yeah, yes.
It was white and the stars were black.
Yes, that was
Yeah.
That
cool.
was so cool.
It's like he was like behind the curtain or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, and also maybe if I had a little bit more time to read it, I could have like gone back and read things over again. But I mean, it's a quick read, but I just wonder if I would have taken more time with it, if I didn't have like a deadline, which is fine.
yeah.
But
One thing actually about that scene that we were just talking about that I wanted to mention that I love that's different from the movie, it's like better in the book, but I thought it wasn't going to be. Remember when Haywood Floyd is first like getting out of whatever brings him to the monolith on the moon, and it's quickly mentioned that like as he's doing it, it's just like Clarke foreshadows the sun in that scene, whereas it's not done in the movie. Because there's a part he says where there's something really tall, and the very top of it all of a sudden like bursts into light because the sunlight is hitting it. So if it's hitting something up high but not down low, then he's planting the seed that the sun is coming up, and in a couple seconds this thing is going to see the sun.
Yeah.
Whereas in the movie, it's never alluded to that, which I'm not saying it's worse, but it's just more. It's just, I think it was very cool in the book. Do you want to hear like what I've learned about how this thing was made?
Sure.
Yeah.
Why this book even exists?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. I'm not done. So this book is amazing, first of all. It's called Space Odyssey, Stanley Kubrick, Arthur C. Clarke, and the Making of a Masterpiece by Michael Benson. I'm 100 pages in, and basically I'm up to the chapter that says the name of the studio where it was filmed. So like there was a chapter before it was called like pre-production. So like I know everything up till when they started filming.
Okay.
So one amazing thing. So I've always wondered, like, is it based on the book, or is it a novelization of a movie? You know what I mean? Like, what is it?
Sounds like they're like just.
Is it like
they're one and they're
like simultaneous or something?
two parts of a whole or something?
Yeah, they kind of are. So basically, so this is explained that Kubrick and Clarke met up in New York City, where Kubrick was living, in 1964. And dude, this also explains why Clarke didn't write any novels between 1963 and when this came out in 1968. Because making this movie took forever. It took over 4 years.
I didn't realize that.
And dude, he was like a salaried employee of the production company.
Oh my gosh.
So he was getting paid. It says to write the book, he was getting paid $1,000 a week just to write the script with Stanley Kubrick. Which back then, that's like obviously way more money.
Yeah.
But like, it was just interesting that he was like a salaried employee, and he took it, dude. I told you this in a text, Amy. He took it because he was strapped for cash, because he married some lady in 1953 and then divorced her a couple months later. And 10 years after that, he was still dealing with the divorce. She was going after all his money.
Damn.
Wow.
And like, dude, he was in debt in Ceylon. The tax collectors, Ceylon is Sri Lanka now. Back then it was called Ceylon, or I don't. Maybe it's Ceylon. I don't know. But Ceylon. So
Thanks, Mom.
so
He needed money.
yeah, he owed them money, dude, because he was paying for all these. He was living with two filmmakers, and he was paying for all their movies to get made.
Oh my gosh.
Like, because he loved the ocean, and all their movies are about like the ocean and like boating and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, dude, the tax collectors of his country, his adopted country, were like, you can't leave for more than 2 months. They didn't even want him to leave, and he had to go to. But he had this like big opportunity to make a movie with Stanley Kubrick, who was coming off the high of Dr. Strangelove. At this point, dude, Kubrick could have done anything.
Yeah.
So Clarke managed to like leave his home country, like blah blah blah. He started making this thing. Anyway, okay. So Kubrick explains that we will not sit down and write a screenplay. We will sit down and write a novel. We'll get much more depth. And then this is a whole paragraph written by Kubrick. I decided trying to do an original story in screenplay form was, in a sense, putting the cart before the horse. In order to write a good screenplay, you have to not only know what you want to say, know what your ideas are, but you've got to figure out how to dramatize the idea. In other words, how to make the idea implicit in the action or in the emotional structure of the story. While you are still trying to work out the ideas, it is rather paralyzing to, at the same time, have to work out how you will dramatize them. You are drawn to scenes which suggest themselves and seem interesting, but which may not really be accurate as far as what you are trying to say. On the other hand, if you work in the novel form, it is not necessary to be concerned with the method of dramatizing the idea. Then, when the story is written and everything is there, you can start all over again to synthesize the dramatic structure from the much looser and freer and longer form of the novel. This may be why so few good original screenplays are ever written. So what that says to
that
me...
answers that question. We're always like, why aren't there any original movies?
Well, that says to me, because that says to me that if you're like, let's say you're like the greatest author ever, right? So obviously if you write a book, like you're the author, but there are editors involved, there are things that are involved. Other people have to get involved.
Yeah.
But if you're like the best writer ever, you write a novel, first draft, you publish it. You're the only person involved, right? With a movie, like, it's almost like he's saying a screenplay is not the final product. It's not what the consumer is looking for. So it's like you're writing, it's like utilitarian. So and if you think about it, most of Kubrick's movies, they're all based on books. So that's what I guess he basically was saying that, like, it's almost, I don't know, like he couldn't work off his own ideas.
But that's fine. I mean, I feel like there's some directors who shouldn't, they want to do everything. And
I heard it what you just read is also like you can't fully like flesh out an idea if the whole time you're thinking to yourself, how am I going to portray this visually, dramatically, whatever. So it's good to like come up with all the ideas first and then from there figure out how you're going to dramatize it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
that's
it
what
seemed,
I got out of it too, because like the Audible audiobooks start that he explains that as well.
oh, really?
Yeah, he explains that it got made that because him and Stanley Kubrick got together and wanted to do it, that the idea was that he write the novel first, so that because, like you said, Amy, you couldn't quite get as in depth when you're trying to portray something visually versus flesh out a real kind of intellectual idea, I guess, through the novel. Yeah. So yeah, the audiobook was definitely worth it just for that too.
Well,
sounds like it's half of this book.
It's interesting though to think about like when they make movies out of books, and one of the things that everybody is always really focused on is how true to the book is the movie. But if you think about it, you can take an idea and then the book can kind of be its own thing. And then the movie can also then be its own thing.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just a different way of telling that story, I guess. So we tend to get really caught up on like how close to the original is it, when maybe that's just like not that important.
Yeah, there's like 3 categories of that, which is better than the book, like the movie is better than the book is better than the movie, or they both coexist as their own awesome things.
It's like
or bad things.
like Stardust. Like that movie's really different from that book.
True.
I love the book. I love the movie. I understand why they made the changes that they did to the movie. Or Ready Player One. It's
same thing.
Completely different, but like I
But
get
good.
why they did that.
Yeah.
And I love, both mediums, like both versions of it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that there's others. I just can't think of them. But this is interesting that it was like the book and the movie were being written or were being made at the same.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know how you describe it.
Yeah,
We're
I feel like that's
coming.
I feel like that's very different. Like
Yeah,
that
it's
doesn't
really
happen.
weird. It's really weird.
It's interesting.
So one of the super interesting thing I want to mention from this book, and then we don't have to do any more like behind the scenes stuff, is remember you mentioned Joseph Campbell in an episode, and so he was the editor of I can't remember what it's called, like the most famous science fiction magazine back then, and he did write that book you mentioned, Hero with 1,000 Faces.
Yeah.
And this is a quote from him explaining the hero's journey, which this is just so eerily like it's exactly 2001. A hero ventures forth from the world of common day into a region of supernatural wonder. Fabulous forces are there encountered, and a decisive victory is won. The hero comes back from his mysterious adventure with the power to bestow boons on his fellow man.
Wait, what was that describing?
The hero's journey.
That's
So they-
like the
Generally.
end. That's like the end of 2001.
Yeah, the hero's journey is really cool. Like I really like Joseph Campbell, and he basically wrote. The book was like kind of explaining how all great stories have this similarity of the hero's journey, and that's what makes such a classic, great book or movie, is because it all kind of centralizes the same point. So it is very much like 2001, because you have this, not really a hero per se, but you see this evolution of of human beings, really, I guess, is the character
Yeah.
through that, and just kind of how we come into greatness, I guess.
Yeah, he's like not so much a hero, but like a champion, like
Exactly.
champion for mankind.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only problem with this, with 2001, is that, I mean, Bowman is extremely passive.
Yeah.
I mean, on the ship, he's not passive, but
No.
once the monolith is in, if you're in the grips of the monolith, you're not doing anything. You're not a hero.
Yeah.
You're just being ushered along.
Right,
into
like
the
along
next-
for the ride.
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
kind of how I
Yeah.
took
There's
it. Like,
nothing you can do.
there was like no point in
Until-
fighting back, because it's just like it almost seemed like he was just almost like something was telling him he didn't need to be scared of the process.
That's what I was saying.
You
Like, I
know?
feel like I would have been freaked out. But
Yeah.
maybe it
It's
was
'cause he's-
so like blowing his mind so much that
Yeah,
he just
you
was
can't
But I
even-
feel-
calm and
Yeah.
No, but I feel like he even says like he went through it. I think it's because of his training as an astronaut. I mean, it's part of the reason why, like a person, like it's part of the reason I think why you had to be an astronaut to get to the Stargate in the first place. Like it's like it knew that only someone who could get there
Oh, good point, dude. I never thought
would
of
be
that.
able to handle what
Yeah.
was about to happen to him.
Or even just like a scientific mind.
Because he says like how he the whole time it's happening he's like looking around and he's reasoning, he's saying like someone or something is doing this with such great care that like no harm is going to come to me.
Yeah.
So he
Yeah.
was able to find, you know, peace, and like you just said, scientific mind, he's like
He's
observing
curious. He's
everything.
observing, yeah. And he doesn't have judgment on it. He just
Yeah.
accepts it as it comes.
And I think that we also underestimate what coming to face with something like that would actually would change you. I think it would change you instantly. Like he flew like 1.5 billion miles and found a man-made structure on a moon of, what is it in the book? Because it's not the same as the movie. Saturn in the book, right?
It's Saturn,
yeah.
yeah.
It's Jupiter in the movie. But anyway,
they talk a lot about Jupiter in this though.
Yeah, because they fly by
Yeah.
Jupiter.
yeah, they
even
use
That
it.
word like Jovian
Even the
Yeah.
yeah.
that I
Jovian
looked
system.
it up and it's Jupiter.
Jupiter is a very important part of the second book.
Yeah. Yes, very.
Dude, that's a thing. When I finished this novel, I was like, wait, what? Wait, what? Wait, there's things missing. And I'm like, oh, that's in the second
was
book.
the
Right.
second
Fuck
one.
my life. I have to wait.
That's why I had to read or listen to this again before talking about it, because I knew I'd get the books mixed up in order somehow.
Yeah, I thought. Are you going to read any more of these books?
I don't know.
Okay, never mind.
Depends on how long they are.
The
they're
second
all
one,
similar.
no, the second one's the longest. It's an additional 30 pages. The rest of them are all shorter.
How many are there?
4.
Four.
Gosh, okay.
Dude,
I do have questions
I
about
so
this.
badly want to tell her
About
who's
what?
the main character
About
of
this
2001.
book.
Oh,
All right,
don't
tell
so
us.
let's-
I won't.
Don't
tell
tell
us.
her.
What you
Yeah.
got? What questions you got?
Don't tell me anything.
I won't.
What are the questions?
So, what, and maybe this is in here and I just missed it. What, I have questions about like the middle part.
okay.
So, what were the astronauts who were sleeping, who were hibernating, what were they specially trained to do? That's one question. My other question is, why did Hal try to sabotage this?
Okay, which one do you want me to answer first?
Whichever.
So
Start with
the
the scientists.
Huh?
What?
Start with the scientists. It's simpler.
three guys, they're there. The three people know what David Bowman and Frank Poole don't know.
Right, I get that. But what were they going to do? Were they just going to do
They were
what
going to
he
become.
ended up...
They were going to become
Yes.
star children. They were going to approach. They were going to go to wherever the signal from the moon monolith was pointing.
They were
Well,
just
then I
trying
think
to
we now
find
know that they
extra
didn't really
light.
need specially trained people for that. Because what's his face? Bowman did just fine.
Yeah.
True.
But
So-
they didn't. But they didn't know that when they were setting out. Like obviously,
Yeah.
So what was his thing? Just to get them there?
Yeah.
yeah. And then remember, he was going to be updated. They just had to keep it from those two because remember, this whole thing for 2 years has been a secret to every other
Right.
human on Earth.
Right.
Nobody knows that they found the monolith.
I forgot how intriguing the whole thing with Haywood on the moon is, dude.
Oh, it was so good.
And that.
Oh, okay, right. Like when the music starts.
No, when the beat kicks in.
Right, that's
when the
true.
beat drops.
So I'm not recording. You're not recording right now, right? Just
You're intimately involved with the podcast, so tell the folks when the beat drops. why they should listen.
Are you ever at home and you're by yourself and you just want to feel something?
Feel it.
You want to hear something.
Hear it.
You want to listen to something that has some wholesome, good words to say. Conversation. Dreamer Nation. Space Dreamers. Listen to this podcast. Yeah, you should bring that back. We should actually write something down and like so that it sounds good, because like this is actually like a really
The conversation that he has is better in the movie. I realize these are like random little, but in the movie it's like so much more intense. And that actor who plays Haywood Floyd, he's just
Who
like,
are the people in this? Is there
dude,
anybody famous
No,
in it?
no one you recognize.
Also because this is a really long time ago.
But yeah, well, the people who were considered for some of those roles, you certainly would recognize.
Oh, really?
But
That's cool.
so does that make sense?
I mean, it does, but it's also, I don't feel like that's like I feel like that isn't even important to the story. Those people didn't even need to be there. They're like not even part of the story at all.
Yeah, but they're
No,
part of
yeah.
the.
Because
Well,
they
the
just end up
mission.
dying.
Right,
Yeah.
but they didn't. That wasn't what was supposed to happen.
Right, and it
I
just
wonder
shows.
what would have happened if 3 people went instead of just 1.
Who knows? I don't know.
Okay. So why did Hal do what he did?
Because computers can't lie, according to Clarke. Because
But I feel like
it's
the computer
the whole
did lie.
chapter
Because
of
that there wasn't anything
well,
wrong with that
a
thing.
computer can't. Hal didn't. He was like conflicted with the fact that he was lying to Dave
Yeah.
Bowman and Frank Poole the whole time.
It was almost
And,
like the computer had a consciousness
yeah,
in that
and he
sense.
was conflicted by that.
Huh.
And dude, like, there's the chapter Need to Know explains it.
So it seems like he should have said, instead of doing what he did, he should have, if Hal was having a hard time lying, he should have been like, "Hey guys, let me tell you a secret."
Yeah, but the other
Instead
thing,
of doing what he
Killing
did.
everyone.
but the other thing is, Hal also is a machine, so he doesn't care about human life. Like that's not a thing that he's concerned about. What he's concerned about is completing the mission. So that's the
But
thing.
what did he think his mission was?
I think he knows the real mission.
I think it was.
Oh, he does
So
know
then
the real mission.
That's why he's
he
conflicted.
was. But he,
Imagine hanging out for months with a bunch of people and you know something and they don't even know that you know something that they don't know. And you're a newborn baby.
So what? Okay, so what did Frank and David, was that their names?
Yep.
What did they think they were doing?
Just to explore Saturn, right?
Yeah, they thought it was just
Yeah.
because the original mission that they had been assigned to was just going to go to Jupiter, and they were going to hang out around Jupiter and do like scientific recall stuff. You know, be the first people that went to Jupiter and collected all this information.
Jupiter?
Yeah, that's well, no, stop.
Okay.
That's what the original mission was for. So
Okay.
it was
Oh, yeah, they
already
think they're
in. Well, it was already in the works. This mission when the monolith was found on the moon. So what happened was they commandeered the discovery. They
I
decided.
forgot about that.
Yeah,
Yes.
so they as in like the government or whatever, whoever knew about the
Yeah,
monolith.
they were going anyway,
They were
right?
going anyway,
Yes.
yeah, to Jupiter. So what they decided to do was piggyback on this and say, you know what, actually plans have changed. We're going to go past Jupiter. We're going to go to Saturn because Saturn is where the
Thing was pointing
Thing
to.
was pointing. Yeah, exactly.
So how did those 3 guys get on the Discovery then?
So they just added them to the thing. Like they just like they were like, instead of going and studying Jupiter, here's what's going on. Only the 3 of you know outside of the government people that have to know. So this is what's going to happen. But they never told Dave and Frank.
So I've said this before, and I'll say this again about science fiction books. I get a little bogged down, honestly, with like the descriptions of everything.
Yeah.
And I feel like because of that, I might be missing out on like ideas or something. Because there's so much explanation of like what they're seeing and what's around them and
Yeah.
what they do every day. And
Right.
and then I wonder if my mind just starts to wander because I was supposed to know everything you just said by reading this book.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, the end of the book, I get it. Like the end of the book, is weird. So I don't think it's weird that I was like, what's going on here? But I feel like I missed some major like plot details.
I would say
Yeah.
you probably shouldn't watch the movie.
Shouldn't?
No.
Why?
Yeah, don't watch the movie.
Because it's all written in English. In the book, in the movie, it's just images and music. And you're confused. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but seriously.
But I'm also, I feel like I'm very visual, so maybe I'll understand it or like it better.
Maybe.
I don't feel like I'm going to like that movie, but I feel
It's a bit
like
boring.
Dude, it's my favorite movie of all time,
That's
and
what it
it
sounds
is.
like.
It's boring.
It's boring. Yeah.
But it's also amazing, Heather. You have to understand, Heather. When you watch the Marvel movies with the goddamn CGI, right? Okay, 2001 was made in 1968. And directors watch it today and they can't tell how he did it.
I think that's ridiculous. We've already talked about
crazy?
this.
It is phenomenal.
Someone has to know how they did it.
Yeah, no.
Stanley does.
Yeah.
But Stanley was in a one-man, there were other
Yeah.
people there. There's got to be someone alive who knows how they filmed that movie. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to figure it out.
Dude, even so, like, wow. So this is Heather's not going to
Let's see.
recognize.
What have we got
no,
here?
Shh, wait, this is the thing, the circle thing that how
What are
they
you
live
showing
in a
her
spinning.
pictures
yeah.
from that?
Yeah.
The pictures in the book?
Yeah, but
Oh, that's cool. That's like behind the scene picture.
so that thing was built by
It's a giant hamster wheel.
It was built. It was built by a aviation company.
Wow.
Really?
That's neat.
Dude, Clarke. Okay, Kubrick was inventing technologies to make this movie. That's why probably no one knows, because he did it all not the way everyone else was doing it. He was being so secretive while he was making it. And so yeah, so like that spinning thing, like it literally like yeah, that's Moonwatcher.
No, I know.
So
That was the part I couldn't get past when I first started watching the movie. It was ridiculous. I was just like, literally,
How
what am
long
I
is that
watching?
part? Is it
Did
really
we
long?
watch the movie? Did I watch the movie first before I read the book? Now I can't remember.
I don't know.
I feel like I wouldn't have read it
Weird
if I
that
had.
you said that Stanley Kubrick could have done anything. Why did people love him so much?
because Dr. Strangelove was literally winning Oscars while he was planning on building this movie. Also, he's just a really good director. Have you ever seen Dr. Strangelove?
Yes, we talked about this, but it was a long time ago. It was in my film class. I don't really remember.
I mean,
it.
for the time, I'm extremely impressed by how they pulled off this movie, but it was boring. Like, just because,
Yeah.
again, the book gives you so much more. And you're right, it's just a lot of music and kind of visuals. So it's a little
So
tough
real
to get
quick,
through.
let's get back to the book.
All right.
I want to talk about something that I've noticed as the person who has read every single novel so far in order, just things that I did not know about my favorite author until I read him in order.
What?
Okay, Amy,
Yeah.
what happened? What's up with this book, dude? Where is Clarke's voice? His voice is absent from this book. The voice that he employs in every single novel up to now is that hokey, making jokes.
Oh, yeah.
Like what happened?
yeah, but every
This
chapter
is
has
so-
every chapter has that one line at the end of
Yeah,
it.
but it's epic. It's not a joke.
But that's him. That's him.
Okay, yeah, but dude,
Yeah.
you don't understand. I've read. This is nothing
I
like
can
the other
tell
novels.
this is a
Right.
better book,
Right, yeah.
than A
You
Fall
re-
of Moon does.
Yes.
I can tell
There,
that.
there are no like Miss
This
Morley and Pat and
yeah,
Yes.
but so I get. I mean, I
Aren't
get
you,
it.
Aren't you?
This
Isn't
is
it
a-
impressive, dude, to read this after reading all that fluff?
It's a
I
very
think anything
serious
he did,
book.
all of the stuff he did is impressive.
Yes.
Dude, I even as the fan, even as the person who loves this thing, I'm reading this thing and I'm just like, it's like a different person. I can't wait to keep going to see if it
Right,
was
go
like
past-
Kubrick's
Yeah.
influence on him, or if
Yeah.
he just became this writer later.
Yeah.
Because it is so different, dude. I'm shocked at how different it is.
It
Aren't
could
you?
just be. I mean, I
I'm-
guess it's just his masterpiece. Like maybe it's his. You know,
It really is his master.
Maybe it's because of the intent. Maybe that had something to do with it. Like the intent behind it, the fact that he was writing it for another purpose as well.
Yeah.
Maybe it helped like focus it in and like get rid of that other stuff. Maybe. Because
Yeah.
it's very like Heather said, each chapter has like that line. Like it's very concise. It's very poignant. Every single thing means something.
Dude, that's the thing. Okay, and I texted you guys this too. I said there is not a wasted word in this
You're
novel.
right. Yep.
There is not a single word that is wasted.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could potentially argue that the ending is a little,
Right.
But like, dude, parts 1, 2, like, I was amazed this time reading this book how fascinating the sections are, like between leaving and when they even talk to Hal. Like, remember the way he describes the asteroid that goes by at like a few miles, and they're like, this charred piece of floating rock and ice makes us homesick because it's the only thing that we're going to be this close to for the next 1.4 billion miles.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Couldn't even imagine that.
That it's a momentous event. It makes you less lonely to see a rock float by. You gotta be. Obviously, you're on your way to Jupiter and Saturn. You could have to be a completely different mindset. It's Annie. She wants me. I know it.
Well, you know what's funny? As I was reading this, I was like in the middle, I was like, ooh, like this is so, I'm like on the edge of my seat, and I'm like, I kind of wish like a normal person had made a movie out of this. And then I got to the last section. I was like, well, now I know why a normal person didn't make a movie out of this.
Yeah.
Because it's so freaking weird.
It's the thing, dude. There's far less structure to that ending in the movie.
I'm not surprised.
But it's visually awesome. Like, it's cool. But yeah.
No, yeah.
Like,
Honestly,
you don't even, the whole section in the movie, you don't even see David Bowman. You just see what he's seeing.
Every time someone says David Bowman,
I know.
I used to
I
think
know.
of David Bowie.
I know.
You want to hear something that's even cooler than that about David Bowman? Okay, so you know how this is called the Odyssey? Space
Yep.
Odyssey? So there's Homer's Odyssey. And then there's Ulysses is apparently also the Odyssey. Except
Yes.
it's one day in one town.
Okay.
Whereas Homer, it's like years in what was to them this practically the universe, the whole Mediterranean Sea. Okay? Mm-hmm. This is an Odyssey as well. And the parallels are crazy, dude. Like, one of them, like think about, well, Heather doesn't know this, but you know what Hal looks like?
I didn't think Hal was a thing. I
If
thought he
you-
was a computer. They
Right.
say something that they look at something.
I know.
Yeah.
But if you saw Hal, you would know. You would be like, yes, I've seen that before.
Well, I saw those things in there. I recognize. I don't know where I saw them, but I've
But
seen
anyway,
images from
okay.
this
Yeah.
movie before.
Yeah.
Maybe The Simpsons.
No, I don't watch The Simpsons.
Hal is the Cyclops in the story that he
Interesting.
must defeat
Oh.
before, because in the point we're getting at is in the, it's just a little dot. It's like a circle and it's one dot is what Hal sees. So it's like a Cyclops.
That makes so much
Yeah,
more
he
sense
just-
to me.
he just has
now that you
little-
say
But
that.
I like little camera lenses.
I remember that part in this when it's like,
Yeah.
even though you looked at something to address him, even though that wasn't
Another thing,
him.
Yeah.
this David Bowman's name was chosen before this connection was made. What does the main dude in the Odyssey receive?
A bow.
That's right, bow and arrow
A bow and arrow.
from some god or something. I don't know the story. I like sci-fi. Okay, I don't like old Greek shit. I know it's famous, but so isn't that cool?
That is cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Bowman with the, I think it's Achilles. No,
Apollo,
Apollo's arrow.
maybe.
Maybe
I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm sure a lot of those guys were shooting arrows.
Yo, so I recently caught a clip of that movie Troy.
Oh yeah, with Brad
Good Lord,
Pitt and
dude. That I feel like
Orlando
I
Bloom.
think I saw that.
Oh, I saw that in the theater.
what a
Yeah?
what a
When I was in
stupid
Australia.
movie.
Is it
Yeah.
good? It's not good?
Well, it's just a really
it's-
it's really hot dudes running around in
In
outfits, speaking English and ancient Greek. You know,
I
ancient
do feel like
Greece.
it's weird that Brad Pitt is in that movie. What
It's-
a weird
yeah.
part for him to play.
But anyway, well, he was like a heartthrob back then, and that's all you need to do in that role is just be sexy.
Whoa.
I'm glad we talked about, like, you brought that up about the Odyssey, though, because it does make more sense to me now that there had to have been some sort of battle involved, because that follows the whole hero's journey principle. It has to be some kind of conflict.
right.
And there would have been no conflict if it hadn't have been for Hal.
Oh,
Dude, that's-
right.
okay,
So
yeah.
you had to throw that in there.
I want to get into that about, because I've always wondered. I've always thought that like the Hal experience and the monolith experience are two different things. It's
Yeah.
like,
They
why
are.
It's almost like they could be
But
two
that's what
different
I was
books.
saying.
But
But
I came to the conclusion in this read through that Hal is, we are the monoliths, and Hal is our moonchild or moon. What is it?
Star Child.
Moon Watcher.
Moon Watcher?
Watcher, yeah.
Okay.
right.
So it's like,
Yeah. Because like
You can
we've
fuck
made
this up.
computers better, and we're the masters of those computers and
I
that
feel like
technology.
what do you think? Because you said that there is a connection before I said what I thought was the connection.
I said that?
A connection between.
Why is Hal in the book?
No, I think I was just thinking that you're right. Like I don't think I've thought about that. Like there has to be. Like I'm making that connection now that he had to be, like he's a creation. Like we created him, but then like we had to overcome that. You know, like David Bowman had, like he defeated him. Mm-hmm. So there has to be. I'm just now thinking about it. There has to be a connection. It wouldn't be a full story without him.
I mean,
No.
Hal is basically Amy. He's the mad mind.
Yeah.
You know, from City and Stars.
Oh right. Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, I wanted to. There's one other really cool part in here.
Yeah,
that I
because
want to share.
nothing would have been wrong with Hal had we not messed him up with
by telling him to lie.
right.
Yeah, but I didn't think. I was a little surprised that he overcame Hal like so quickly. Like I was just like, it was weird.
Yeah, but
that
that's
Hal was just like
I feel
out
like
of the
that.
picture.
I feel like that's typical Clarke. It's like there's one thing and it's an easy solution. You know.
The fact that Frank Poole died, like that's like, whoa, Clarke, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, hey, whoa, someone's dead. You know,
Yeah.
get out of here.
Well, I mean, yeah, but that's actually kind of cool because it's like a main character, so you wouldn't
Yeah.
expect them to die.
I know.
And that's like something that people, you know, it's like
I mean-
the Game of Thrones books. They're
Right.
like, oh my God, he killed off a main
Yeah.
character.
Right.
Well, Clarke was doing it before him.
Exactly. And I mean, he really almost killed Bowman too. Like,
You know, it would be a real surprise
Yeah.
a space story where someone went outside, where somebody did an EVA and nothing happened.
Wait,
Because we'd all be like, obviously, you're going to die. Something's going to go wrong. And then we'd all be totally tricked when it was just like, went well.
wait. Okay, you guys
You
got
know?
although technically that's what happens because remember, I mean, Bowman after David Bowman like puts the ship back into order. I love that part at the end when all the like when all the excitement is over, the story kind of pulls back, like it pulls back and it's like described from like far away, like there was just like some. You know, like you saw the capsules being leaving,
That was
and then
cool.
you saw him out, and he was obviously fixing the antenna, and so like he did, you know, he after the drama, everything did go okay.
things.
But wait,
Things go
maybe
okay in
this- sorry,
EVAs
so
in the second book too.
What was Hal? Maybe we already answered this a minute ago. So what was Hal trying to do?
Okay,
He was going to kill everybody on the ship?
no,
Not originally. I don't think that
But
was
he
in the plan.
who opened the doors?
Hal did
Why did Hal do that?
because the human was interfering with
The mission.
the mission.
But the human doesn't know what the mission is. That's the whole
Right.
point.
But
And
what was
so-
what was Hal going to do if he got there with no humans?
He had been programmed to do it himself.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Hal was going to
That
be able
doesn't seem
to
like it would have worked
take
at
it.
all.
Well, the point is,
They
it's,
don't want a
it's said in the
computer.
novel, and you just
Yeah,
didn't read it.
it's in the.
I did. read
Well,
it.
he
No, but I'm
would've-
just saying,
obviously
like-
didn't understand it. Thanks, Jared.
He
No,
would
I'm
have
just
been.
saying, like,
He would have been able to carry out most of the things that David actually ends up doing, with the exception.
What did they think? Sorry, I'm sorry.
it's okay.
What did they think was going to happen?
They had no idea, Heather.
They
It's-
didn't
it's
know what
just
they were going to
exploration,
find.
man.
They
So
were.
then it's a good thing that
They were-
a human made it there.
Yes.
Yeah, they were literally
definitely.
just searching for other life out in the universe. That's all they knew from the monolith.
I don't even
so
think
they
they
were
were
just
looking
searching
for-
for
They
that.
were just
hair.
going where they were told to go.
They were
didn't-
just
They had no
following.
idea what they were going to
They
find.
were following the.
So then, how could anybody have been trained for that?
And-
how could
Dude,
anybody
that's
prepare for
Heather.
that?
Listen, hold on, real quick. Like, that's like again, you have to understand, like, you have, like, a group of people on Earth. It's like, okay, aliens exist. Like, what the fuck are we going to do about this? We have it under wraps now. It's a secret. You know, it's like, who do you trust your secret with other than a computer that you programmed? You know, like, you can't, I feel like it just makes sense. It's like, you can't trust people to keep that secret.
But you're also
And
missing a
obviously-
big point, though, that Hal felt like that pool lost faith in him, and that he was threatened to be disconnected. And as a computer, that means I'm dead. I'm not going to be. So, I mean, that's why I think Hal, after that, starts destroying everything, because he's like, oh, I have to complete the mission. If they shut me off, we're not going to complete the mission.
Well, because that's an interesting thing, because in the film, it is 100% visual why Hal, and it's very clear why Hal wants to kill them. In the movie, Heather, they know that Hal can hear them talk,
But they talk about that in here sometimes.
so they go into one of the space pods to talk about disconnecting Hal, because Hal can't hear them in the space pod. So guess what Hal does?
I don't want to know because I want to watch the movie.
Okay.
And it sounds like I'm going to be bored the whole time. So maybe not knowing what's going to happen will make it a little less boring.
There in that need to know chapter, it's also
Everything is explained.
Yeah, and also it talks about how Bowman truly believes, and everyone truly believes, that Hal meant no malice in what he was doing.
I think that Hal, and I think it says it in the book, Hal wants to complete it's not that he doesn't want to be disconnected. It's that being disconnected means it's harder to complete the mission.
Well, he can't complete the mission if he's disconnected.
Exactly. So, yeah. So I get, my point is that I don't think Hal's is concerned with self-preservation. He's
No.
concerned with completing the mission.
Correct. That's what I think, too.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah.
It's a crazy thing. I feel like we've talked about this before, that like as an astronaut, you just need to be able to do everything. I wonder if that's real.
I think it is real.
Because like if something happens to every single other
Yeah.
person on the ship, you need to be able to do it all yourself.
Yeah.
And remember when we watched that movie? What was the movie where they?
Midnight Sky,
No. The other one.
Solaris.
No.
The other one.
with,
Which one?
Where they go to the planet and they have to dig up the stuff.
Prospect.
Yes. and we were talking about how they had a manual to
Yeah.
fly their ship, and I
Oh,
was like,
right.
that seems really realistic, that like
Yeah.
you would just
Well,
have to
that's-
be like,
Yeah.
let me consult my manual because I can't remember all
That's
of it.
like how he spends all Bowman and spends all his time like learning, like reading all about the different aspects of the ship, so that he knows like everything. And obviously he couldn't do all of that before he left, so he's like still continuing to learn about the thing that he's flying.
You guys want to hear something really interesting from this
I
book?
do, yes.
Okay.
No, I don't want to hear anything interesting.
So part of the things that they were talking about when they were creating this thing was they wanted to do like the next like epic, and what had just come out was How the West Was Won, and it did really well, over 3 hours long. It's a 4 generations expanding westward, so it's like
Wow.
a journey. You know,
Yeah.
it's like an adventure.
Yeah.
So one of the original titles was How the Solar System Was Won.
Oh, that was one of the original titles for Space Odyssey?
Yeah.
That's so funny.
They had so many crazy, ridiculous titles, dude. So, just this says,
That was a movie or a book?
Yeah, a movie.
Did movies used to be really long?
only if they were epics. Heather, people had
Just-
longer attention spans back in the day.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Because I mean, these days everyone's like gets all freaked out when the last Marvel movie wasn't that like 3 hours long, and I
Yeah,
feel like
but
back in
that's-
the day movies were.
Yeah, but dude, How
It's
the
3
West
hours long.
How the West Was Won is like an epic. The other one is like superheroes punching each other in the face, which we've seen over and over for the last 20 years.
I'm not arguing with why that movie was 3 hours long. What I'm saying is, by hearing this, I'm thinking to myself, movies used to be longer.
And better.
I'm not arguing that either.
But you get what I'm saying? You're comparing the Marvel movie to How the West Was
I'm
Won.
not comparing the Marvel movie. I'm comparing the length of a movie and people's attitude towards the length of that movie.
Right.
And it just is something that I thought of as a movie person.
True.
As a person who likes movies.
Got it. All right. I want to read this quote. How did I lose it?
Yeah, Gone with the Wind was
Well, yeah.
3 hours and 58 minutes.
Exactly. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure Gone with the Wind was like
gosh.
4 hours long.
Yeah.
Probably
I'm just trying to think of like some of the like classic
Yeah.
films and seeing how long.
And probably
but
because didn't 2 movies come out every year?
but Casablanca was only 1 hour and 42 minutes.
Oh God, how long is Citizen Kane?
Oh, that's a long one too, isn't it?
Wait, how long was Casablanca? 2 hours and 4 minutes.
1 hour and
1 hour and
42 minutes.
42
Yeah, so
People,
it wasn't
was
long.
probably a short film.
Oh,
It's a short.
Citizen Kane was 1 hour and 59 minutes.
Oh God, it just feels longer.
Yeah, probably.
I just think that's funny that people were having a hard time with like how long.
Wait, how long is 2001: Space Odyssey?
Isn't it long? I feel like
2
it's a long
hours,
movie.
21 minutes.
Oh, that's not bad
Not
though.
that long.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to find that. I had it. Now I can't.
It's like just funny that I've seen. I feel like it's weird that the spacesuits are so brightly colored.
Why?
Are spacesuits normally brightly colored?
This was made before.
People had.
This is made like while we were going to space. That's another thing you gotta
Isn't that so crazy?
think about.
I think that's so crazy.
Like the Discovery space shuttle is named after this book.
That's
Yeah.
pretty awesome.
Like,
yeah,
we
but
had-
remember I was talking about that? Like NASA is just like buds.
Okay, you guys have to hear this now.
With
Okay, I
Arthur
swear to
C.
God. Ready? Okay. As they can, remember, because I was talking about how the West was won.
Yeah.
What we had in mind was a kind of semi-documentary about the first pioneering days of the new frontier. Though we soon left that concept far behind, it still seemed quite a good idea, Clarke wrote in 1972. As they continued their discussions, the author undoubtedly referred to an idea he'd already presented in print, that the true parallel between humanity's leap into space and something from history actually went back much further than the opening of the American West, or Christopher Columbus, or even the Odyssey. Space travel, Clarke contended, would provide an evolutionary jump as significant as that of life moving from the sea to the land.
Yeah.
Only by contrast, expansion into space was a conscious move by a sentient species. This is quoted, we seldom stop to think that we're still creatures of the sea, able to leave it only because from birth to death we wear the water-filled space suits of our skins.
Ooh.
He had observed.
Filled spacesuit.
Yeah, but think about
God.
that, because that's real. Only the creatures that
Creepy.
dared to move from the sea to the hostile alien land were able to develop intelligence. Now that this intelligence is about to face a still greater challenge, it may be that the Earth is no more than a brief resting place between the Sea of Salt and the Sea of the Stars.
That's amazing.
There's your explanation.
That's wild.
We're in the middle right now. We left the Sea of the Salt. Now we're in the dirt. Sea of Stars is where we got to go next. And the monoliths, it appears, will be the ones to help us do it.
And it's
Well,
so
if we keep
crazy.
destroying our environment, we have no other choice.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's so crazy to think like that everything else is unimportant. Like all these other advancements that we've made are like unimportant. They're just part of the road to those pinnacles. Like that's wild. Like coming out of the ocean onto the land. Like that's a huge achievement.
It's incomprehensible, just
Yeah.
the same way the transition
Right.
to
At
the Star Child is incomprehensible.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like try imagine being a single-celled organism,
Yeah.
and how that grew into us. It's
Yeah.
just beyond what
It's
your imagination
completely
probably
insane.
can comprehend.
Yeah, so that's basically what you said in the very beginning, Jared, is that like we cannot conceive of, we can read the book and we can understand and we can try to visualize and like get a feel for it, but like we cannot conceive of what it would be like just to be an unencumbered by matter consciousness.
The tyranny of matter, Clarke says.
So maybe
Yeah.
Arthur C. Clarke is not a human. He's because how does he write it?
Well, that's.
I mean, I
there's
know
a
he's
difference.
smarter than
Heather,
all of us.
Heather, it's
Listen, there's a
imagination.
difference, and there's a difference between coming up with an idea and formulating what it might look and sound and smell like, but then really understanding it, because it's the same thing. Like, I can totally grasp, the concept of space and planets and like the vastness of it and like all the billions and trillions of miles of distance, but like I can't even conceive of how that like would feel.
I can't. I it's like too much for me to think about. I think I like
know.
boundaries.
Yeah.
Are you this way with fantasy? Like
dragons?
No,
Like
what it's hard
hobbits?
for me is like.
Yeah.
Did you say hobbits?
that's
said
not real?
dragons.
You have
No,
to think
but
it
like,
up.
maybe
Think it up and describe it.
no, I know, but what I'm saying is like, it like space is like that's just like too hard for me to understand because
Clarke-
where
Clarke
does it end?
You don't.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like I
right,
like boundaries.
right,
Like I like
Yeah.
it that we have a
Right.
body to exist in, a water-filled spacesuit to live in.
Okay.
Like that.
Yeah.
It's to me. It's like it's like I can't.
It
It's too
it's
much for
too
me
much.
to understand.
Yeah.
Which is fine. That's why I don't like
Yeah.
time travel because I just cannot wrap my head around it.
I have
And if
I have an
think about
easier
space,
time.
I'm like, oh, and then it ends. No, it doesn't because then it has to be something beyond it.
Yeah, but like you
I have
can
a little
just
trouble
just
with
what's
times,
written
too.
here is all you got to think about because this is the book.
But I have a hard time thinking about like a consciousness not like in a body,
Okay.
you know?
It's kind of like a fart, like how you can.
No, but it's
Like
like,
how
you know,
you can
like I think death is
smell
really
it, but
scary
you
because I
can't-
don't
you see it.
understand.
Can't see it.
Like
Right.
I
exactly.
can't imagine like
Right.
not
Right.
like existing anymore. And I get it that like and
Yeah.
and like I understand that a body deteriorates and I get that, but it's like I don't get what happens to like our consciousness.
No one does. It's
Right.
It's imagined. It's
That's why
fiction.
I wish
But it
sometimes
could
that I
be
was
like-
religious, so I could just be like, well, when I die, I'm going to go to either heaven
Yeah.
or hell, and just that'll be my, and then that'll happen.
But see, that's why I like.
so easy, right?
See, that's why I like
Oh.
stuff like this, is because I can believe better that I could be a collective cloud of electricity floating among the space than I could imagine going to, heaven or sitting on a little cloud patty.
But I
and
just wish that it could be
listening
like-
to angel music.
But I wish that I just like knew. I wish that
Right.
I mean, that's why I am jealous of people who
Yeah.
are religious and believe that they are,
Yes.
that something is going to happen to them when they die, and they truly believe that. And I
Yeah.
wish I had that.
Well, see, I think
It would be
that
easier for me.
I think that in this sense, like, science or science fiction could be religion, because it, like, this book gives me something to believe in.
Yeah, but I mean, Jared and I had a conversation, and he brought up, and it's on one of the podcasts. He brought
Yeah.
up a really good point that, like, I have faith in science. Like, I
Oh,
put
yes.
my
Right.
faith
Totally.
in
Yep.
a scientist telling me, like, to me, it seems very logical, but maybe there's nothing logical about it. Maybe it's just I'm choosing to believe,
I personally,
and I like that idea.
yeah, and I personally think Clarke, even though he technically was an atheist, but he has a lot of Buddhist undertones in a lot of his stuff. Like, a lot of this, like, pure consciousness is almost the idea of nirvana and enlightenment, and I see a lot of those themes play out, especially in this book.
Wait, so if you're a Buddhist, you believe in God?
Not all Buddhists do. You can be secular.
So then,
There's
Yeah.
many sects
There's
of
no,
Buddhism.
like, God figurehead in
Yeah, there's no, like,
the
one
religion
God.
of Buddhism.
Yeah, that, like,
Yeah.
Buddhism is basically like a principles of how to experience life and not have suffering and like roll. It's hard to explain. But like achieving like for like enlightenment and nirvana, like the whole idea and the concept of that is not that you like meet God or anything like that. It's more like you meet yourself and you become just this pure like consciousness without judgment, because all that judgment comes from the ego.
Yeah.
Star Child.
Which is human. Exactly. Which is, and
Yeah,
even
I'm
childhood
seeing,
zen.
as you explain it, it sounds
Yeah. And childhood zen is a great example
Right.
of that again, because what
Yeah.
do they go and turn into? Right? The overmind.
Right. It's just.
And the overmind is just one great collective consciousness.
Yeah.
You know, there's no matter that exists with that.
Right.
You don't need a body.
Yeah.
So it,
I think I like a body just
So
because
what-
I
Wait,
like
Heather,
boundaries.
Let me- okay, hold on.
I
Let
like
me- can I-
limitations.
hold on,
You're
hold on,
talking
hold on.
about faith in science. What we're actually talking about is faith in physical matter. You know, it's
And-
not just science.
But I think I just like it because I can see it and
Yeah,
I can
exactly.
touch it and I
Right.
can feel it. And
well,
like
because
I said, I like
science is
limitations.
isn't
I like
that? I mean,
boundaries.
isn't that what science is? Like the study of like what physically like exists.
Science is a study of how, not why. Why you leave to the religious people. But wait,
what?
I was going to say
what you
something,
got
I can't
there?
remember. I wish I could figure out
didn't
this.
he live in Sri Lanka for a long time? That might
Yes.
explain the Buddhist thing.
Yeah,
Ceylon
he
or
talks about it in this
Ceylon or
book
whatever.
that the people down there listen literally 24/7. They have chanting in their house coming from a radio.
Yeah.
They literally never turn it off.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, that didn't bother him writing.
Well, I mean, there's
But-
like music
Probably
and stuff
very
that's supposed to
meditative.
help you study, help you
Really?
focus.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a consistent, like,
Like I'll put it on
rhythm.
sometimes when I'm reading. I'll put on like, you know, it has no words to
Yeah,
it. It's
I
like
like that too.
instrumental or whatever.
yeah. When I studied in college, I had to have some kind of instrumental music playing in the background.
Yeah, and there's people that like have TV on, have their TV on all the
Yeah,
time.
I can't do that with words.
I can't either, but there's people who do. They have a TV on and they're perfectly capable of like doing other things and studying and stuff like that.
Oh, not me.
Not me either.
I
way
can't
too
read a book or
distracted.
study that way.
No, but I can listen to like classical music. While I'm,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I do. Like I said, I put it on when I read sometimes because sometimes I'm just, I'll like pay too much attention to like other noises. You know, like noises of like just out on the street in the neighborhood or whatever.
Right.
So that's not that weird. What are you looking for, Jay?
Yeah. Did you find
There's no. There's like there's some quote in here. It basically they consulted other people, other authors. There's a great story in here about Carl Sagan, but one of the titles was something along the lines of Beyond the Stars or like Journey Beyond the Stars, and some author was like, "That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. There's nothing beyond the stars. It's going to be 2 hours of a black screen." It's just like. It's just funny, like when you get a bunch of scientists to
Right.
think of a movie title, they'll be like,
Yeah.
"That's a terrible movie title." It's like,
Right.
no one's gonna care. You know what I mean?
It sounds like the kind of thing that I would be like, now wait a minute.
This
Exactly.
makes no sense.
I don't think that makes sense. When I really started thinking about it.
Listen to this, dude. There's so many. Even if you just like movies, listen to this, dude. This says
Nobody here
other
likes movies. What do you
other
think?
interesting details include a short list of possible directors. Only one of them named Stanley Kubrick. The others were Alfred Hitchcock, David Lean, and Billy Wilder. Try to imagine 2001: A Space Odyssey, directed by Wilder, the man who made Some Like It Hot.
How
Look
could
at
there
him,
be,
how
like
he's big.
Hitchcock.
how could there be other people?
Could you imagine
Well,
Space
'cause
Odyssey
there's-
being made by
Because
Hitchcock?
I
That
thought
seems weird.
Stanley Kubrick
I
had
know,
like a
I know.
very
Really
big.
dark.
This
Yeah,
is all
really dark.
explained.
Remember, I was like, I've never seen a Stanley Kubrick movie, and then I was like, oh wait, The Shining.
How about,
Oh, and Doctor Strangelove.
how about? Did you ever watch Clockwork Orange?
No,
You haven't seen that movie?
no.
You know that's my favorite movie.
I'm not a fan. of that
All-time
movie.
favorite movie. What is wrong with all of you?
I don't like watching.
I've
people
never
get
seen it.
Do
raped.
you think I'm gonna like that movie? Like when you think about that movie, are you like, ooh, Heather's gonna love this? Or are you like,
No, I wouldn't
oh,
think
Heather's
that you
gonna
would
hate
like
this?
it, but I figured you might have seen it.
I don't know why I haven't seen it. I don't know. I just haven't really wanted to. I was more interested in reading this book than watching the movie. But actually, now that I read the book, I am more interested in watching the movie.
It's funny.
I'll just do it like during the day when I have time to not be bored.
Yeah,
I did think it was
have-
longer.
I mean, you might not be bored. I don't know. I just remember being a bit bored.
There's movies I really like that I have to like watch during the day
Yeah.
because I will get tired and fall asleep. It's
Yeah, absolutely.
nothing against the movie.
Yeah.
But what
Yeah,
were
there
you
are
saying?
I mean, there are lots of movies where, you know, even like while you're watching it, you're like, what is going on? But then like by the
Right.
you know, and like oh my gosh, like, but then by the end of it you're just like, okay, I get why it was like that, and now I really love it.
And there's
Yeah,
movies
I
I
can see
love that have scenes that I find very boring.
Right.
And I'm just like, let's get through
Yeah.
this to the part that I
Yeah.
love.
Yeah.
You know, so I can love a movie without loving every second of the movie.
Yeah, definitely.
You know? So
Yeah, because the part with Hal in the movies, I really like that.
then I probably
But it
will
was
too, 'cause
basically
that was
like
my
leading
favorite
up
part
to
of the
that
book
was
too.
kinda
Like Heather,
Yeah.
do you recognize this? Open the pod bay doors, Hal. I'm sorry, Dave.
No, but this is you sound a little bit like a sexy lady when you
That's
Sorry.
kind of how he talks.
Well, I'm not.
He talks
I'm
so.
not a machine, so I can't replicate.
Sorry
like
to
that.
interrupt the festivities, gentlemen, but we have a problem.
I'm sorry, Dave. I can't do that. I like the way he says.
Hal's like, no means no, Dave.
I like the way he says.
No, but that's what's weird. I recognize Hal. I recognize shots from this movie. I
iconic.
recognize,
Yeah.
but I clearly didn't know anything about the monkeys because when I first started reading it, I was like, what's happening?
Actually the main thing that
liked
I
the
remember
part with the
from
monkeys.
yeah, it's really good in the
And it
book.
made me- but it made me
It's not
sad.
as good in the movie.
Yeah, because he's
Made
a
me sad
character.
for the
He's
animals.
Moonwatcher.
Yeah. The thing that I remember from the film the most is the end when he's in the room,
Yeah.
the
I feel like
hotel
I'm gonna
room.
hate that part, but I did see a picture of it in there, and it looks like it's just very. It looks normal. That part looks normal.
Yeah, because
I
it's
love
supposed to. It's supposed
I
to trick
love
him
the-
and make him feel comfortable.
I love the end in the room. Like reading it this time, like I really like focused in on all the subtleties about how like there were parts that were. It was just to comfort
Yeah.
him.
'Cause It was a little outdated. Some things
Yeah.
were.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
also
it was
that-
dated to the
To
moment,
the moment
Yeah.
that
the signal went out.
Signal
Yeah.
went
Yeah.
out, and then also how it was like there were like certain things that were crisp and clear, and then other things that weren't.
Yeah,
it
when
was
you got
just kind
close,
of
it was blurry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it was
But I also
really
love
neat.
Like a
He-
dream. Have you ever
how
tried to
he-
read in a dream?
Acknowledges,
Yeah.
like
say
he
how.
acknowledges the fact that like it's weird and it's not real, but he's
Right.
like, I'm gonna go with it. you know,
Yeah.
like
that he
it-
thinks
it's
he's
like-
being observed the whole time too.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
just
how he
thinks
knows
he's-
it.
Yeah, he's like
right.
It's
they're
like
testing
or how he
me.
like
Yeah,
the food is like a blue liquid or something, but he like
Yeah.
eats it anyway,
and it doesn't
it's
taste
like-
bad. It tastes kind of good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when he drinks the water and he thinks it's gross at first, but then he's like, oh no, it's just like pure water.
Yeah.
They want me to be healthy.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so it's weird. It's like he feels like someone is going to like take care of him. Like
Yeah.
he feel like it's like he's like, I'm
It's because he's not dead
going
yet.
to need to do something. Like they're going to want to keep me healthy because I'm going to need.
Right.
But at the same time, if he doesn't have a body anymore, what the hell does he need to be healthy
Well, he doesn't
for?
know that.
It's not.
No, it's his
not
perception.
healthy.
He doesn't.
It's not healthy. It's that they don't want harm.
Yeah.
It's not that they want him to be healthy. They just don't want him to die.
Right. So they have to give
Okay,
him.
but I
He's
feel
just-
like he
he-
said, like,
Yeah,
oh,
but
my
he's-
health, like, could tell they wanted me to be healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he
But
does say
it's-
something like that with the water.
It's his brain deducing the fact that he's safe. That's that explanation. It's like
Yeah.
it's the point is like I just traveled light years through space through wormholes in my thing, safe, untouched. Like clearly someone's looking out for me.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's the idea. Like if you were
But it kind of goes back to that story that we read where that guy had that premonition or had that dream of when he died, and then he was never scared.
yeah.
And it's like
yeah.
he just had this blind faith
right.
in this thing that he was like, I'm going to be okay.
Wait, so I do want to read. I marked like 4 things, so maybe they're interesting. I really liked. It's interesting. The beginning. I love the Moonwatcher sections because it's like a really simple and boiled down, and I would argue quite voiceless examples of Clarke's ability to just describe epic things in an even simpler way. So it says, now it was light enough to leave. Moonwatcher picked up the shriveled corpse and dragged it after him as he bent under the low overhang of the cave. Once outside, he threw the body over his shoulder and stood upright, the only animal in all of this world to do so. Like, what's fucking cool about that is that, yeah, it's a book and we know the monolith did that, but at the same time, at some point, that happened on Earth.
Yeah, but that's what I was
And
gonna
it's
say. Like,
awesome.
that's what's
Yeah,
interesting
it
about
was
this
epic.
is like, yes, he's writing about things that like haven't happened yet, but he's also writing about something that
And
Did
okay,
happen.
another thing, dude. It's cool, dude. It's cool too. Like everything, most things are a product of the time they come out in, right, or the time that they're created in. A lot of what's talked about in this book is how they were influenced by things that came out between 64 and 68, and one of those things is a book all about the origins of our species and it being in Africa. And they both read it and they both loved it. So while
Interesting.
they were writing a novel.
Yeah, that would definitely explain kind of a little bit of the origins in the beginning.
That part that you just read reminded me of one of the parts in the beginning that really struck me was how like he is described like as hard as it is for me to imagine things that are greater than myself, it's equally as hard to imagine a lesser version of myself. Like
yeah.
imagine like the part where he says like it's like he knew like he didn't know it was his father that he was carrying out of the
Yeah,
like,
never had a
but-
second thought about him after he
yeah,
left
it's
him
like
out for the
while
hyenas.
he was there, he would. So it's like you would feel like I can't imagine like you would feel that sort of kinship. Like he knew that there was some connection, but he didn't know what it was. And then once he was gone, he was out of his mind. Like he, like it's so hard to imagine being, like I said, less than what I am now.
Just look
well,
at me.
it's just hard to be different.
it.
It's hard to be different to imagine being different than what you
Yeah.
are, which is why people are so shitty to each other sometimes.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I also
Agreed,
love how he
because-
describes when the monolith is kind of like teaching Moonwatcher,
Oh yeah,
and like he's just.
so much better.
It's
than you.
almost
Doesn't
like
he,
he's
like, try to
having
eat it
his.
or something.
They're his own
Yeah.
thoughts, but they're not his own thoughts. Like they're obviously being given to him. But like
Right.
the fact that like at some point in our human evolution, we started making these complex
Right.
thoughts
Yeah.
and started making and using tools.
It's
and,
insane.
and that never was done before.
It's
you know,
insane.
So
It is very cool to think about.
I do
Yeah.
love. I remember. Like I was awakened to how much I love Arthur C. Clarke when I reached this moment that I'm about to reference in the book. Like obviously, I was like, "That's an amazing movie." Back in the day, like I want to read the book so I know more. I didn't know at the time that it was going to be my favorite author. So I remember while reading it, the moment I realized, like, oh shit, like this is better than the movie.
Yeah.
It's more, and I love it. Is basically just everything with the monolith teaching the monkeys. Because it's
Yeah.
obviously, like in the movie, you have the music, you have the visuals, and it's gorgeous and it's awesome. But in the book, it's so much better, and there's so
Yeah.
much more, dude. There's all the colors that, like the spokes
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
that appear,
Yep.
and how it teaches them how to tie knots with grass,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and how it fucking kills one of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like that.
and then they're like,
that is
"Oop,
the
we're gonna
moment.
take a break for a day and figure out what we did."
I marked
Not
that.
kill him again.
I marked that paragraph. There had been no performance the next night. The crystal was still analyzing its mistake. The tribe streamed past it through the gathering dusk, ignoring its presence completely. The night after, it was ready for them again. Oh,
I like that so much
he's so
because
good.
it also shows that like the Star Child who placed those monoliths in Africa, like that was still a learning process for them. They were figuring it out
Exactly.
as they
Right.
went along, just like we were.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Could you imagine that though? You're like, well, okay, all right.
Oop,
We
killed
need
that
to
one.
regroup. We just lost one.
Exactly. That's
We gotta-
exactly what it is.
Whoa, okay.
But you have to understand too is like that's the way a scientist in a lab
Yeah.
would treat the mice that they're experimenting on. It's the same thing. It's because
Well,
the
and
mice
also,
doesn't know any better.
Sounds like
Yeah.
they died pretty easily anyway. So
Yeah.
it's probably just another day for them.
Yep.
Yeah. They didn't seem to concern themselves over death too much,
They
other
were doing
than
No.
just
pretty
self-preservation.
crappy on their own. So,
So, dude, okay,
Yeah.
this is another thing I really, really love. Oh my god, is when this part's called "In a Vacuum." It's like it explains all these things of like it's 2.5 pages explaining like what Bowman could have done, like what things are in place. And then the next paragraph is just, but all of this was of no use to Bowman. There was no one aboard Discovery who could recompress him. He had to reach safety in the next few seconds by his own unaided efforts. But I just love how he goes thoroughly through all the the things that are in place to make this not happen. Like, if you had a second person, you'd be fine.
Right.
Yeah.
But he goes through
Be all
all
good.
that, and he's like, but Bowman didn't have that.
Right.
Yeah.
So now you have to read whatever the hell he has to do.
Right.
And it's
But
like,
isn't that part when he like all of a sudden like hear he's like, oh, and he couldn't mistake the sound of the doors opening.
that was so good.
And it's
too.
like
that's
I
a good
loved that whole middle section, and it was funny because when you I don't know, texted us about it or whatever, I was like, I'm really into it, and then that only lasted for like a little while longer, and then I was like, oh, now we got this weird part. But I like the middle the best, then the first part, then the last part.
Then the last part.
I probably would agree, honestly. But I love it all.
Really, because like to me, like even though I like the middle part and it kind of could stand alone on its own, but like I like the beginning and the end the best. I think that the
Maybe
middle
I'm
section's
just,
my
like,
least favorite.
Too dumb to like the
Well,
other parts better.
I think the reason I like the middle section so much is because so much of it is not in the movie. And the big scenes, like all the monkey scenes are really well done in the movie. So you just remember it more, and it's like, I love Clarke, dude, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, that movie sucks. The book is what you should, like, the movie's a masterpiece. You know what I mean? So, like,
Yeah.
the ending, it's just, you're going to remember it better in the movie. The beginning, you're going to remember it better in the movie. For me, like, I don't remember that much. Like, the middle, I feel like that movie is it's so segmented, dude. Like, as soon as it sends a signal, it's like, all right, 2 years later, let's just talk about Bowman and Frank Poole, people you've never even met before. We're like over an hour into the movie.
But don't you think that happens in the book? You're
Yes.
suddenly expected to just, like, first you're like monkeys, then you're like Haywood or whatever.
But yeah,
You don't know any of these people.
Right.
You don't know what's going on. You don't know what's going on.
yeah, but no one does.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, as the reader, you keep reading not knowing what's going on, not knowing who these people are, not
So,
knowing how they
all right.
connect to the person that you were just, who was
Oh,
just
right.
your main character.
Yes.
So
I
I'm
feel like that's
curious.
the same
Heather.
in Childhood's End too, though, because you start with one main character, but then time has to pass, so you have to kill that character.
Who remembers the main character of the second book?
Not me. Haven't read it.
It's been so
I thought
many
you were
years.
supposed. I thought you weren't supposed to tell me.
I'm not ruining anything. Just who knows?
I can't remember.
Okay, it's Haywood Floyd.
That's right.
That's
okay,
right.
That's
He's
right.
the main
That's
character.
right.
Yep.
Yep.
Now I remember.
So if you look at it as a series, I mean, but yeah, no, I get what you're saying. But the point
Yeah.
I was trying to
Yeah.
make is that the middle is better. Okay, this is the point I'm making. The middle is better in the book.
Yes.
The end and the beginning are better and obviously more iconic. I won't say better. They're just more iconic in the
Yeah.
movie. So
Which
that's
is
why I
weird
love the middle
because
part of
I
the
feel
book.
like Hal is like the most recognizable thing to people who don't know anything about this,
Right.
Yeah, and it's super.
and that whole belief that it like has something to do with IBM.
What?
Oh yeah, Arthur C. Clarke says in the
Yeah, he
intro
says-
that that's not true.
Yeah,
at all.
he's like, people say that, and I'm like, yeah, I've heard people say that before,
Yeah.
and then he does. He
HAL,
says,
IBM. What?
yeah, and then
Yeah.
and then in it does tell you in the book what HAL stands for. It's something algorithm, right?
Oh, yeah.
something like that. Yeah,
So like where it came from.
which
Dude.
has to do something with like a test, right? Like a test of
The Turing test?
yeah, the Turing test.
Yeah, he talks a lot about the Turing test.
Yeah,
But you know that I mean that's the interesting thing because I feel like how many movies or books or whatever like came I would assume after this that have that relationship between a human and a computer and what a computer or an AI or whatever.
Yeah.
But like that's something that clearly fascinates us as humans.
Yeah, it does.
Like the
Well,
relationship.
Dude,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you also
And
like
how far is too far? And
Well-
are we afraid that they could take over and kill us? Or
well, you
whatever?
just mentioned
that's the whole part. The whole point, I think, of HAL is
But I feel
to
like-
express human fear of our own technology outgrowing us and taking.
right, but
maybe
we already.
over.
I mean, the story still exists without Hal,
Yeah, it could.
but he is the most recognizable.
well, David. Well,
I think it's just because that's like really the most action-packed part of the book and the movie, really. So maybe that's why people remember it so much.
Is this like a true thing? Like on spaceships, is there very much a computer running things? Like how much,
Yeah.
like
Well-
maybe it's not talking to you like,
I mean, airplanes are the same way.
because I
But-
feel like there's so many like science fiction movies and things where like the
Yeah.
computer is a big part.
You have to understand that the way humans now operate in space, you're like a couple miles up. So the people on the ground are doing everything, pretty much. So, but in this case, if you're 1.4 billion miles away, you need something to like run the ship.
Be your
Well, but
mission control.
interestingly enough, they had 2 other HALs on Earth
Oh yeah.
that were helping, and obviously people on Earth that were helping.
Yeah,
do
there's
things.
way more communication with Earth in the book than there is in the movie. That's like they never talk to Earth like once.
But I hate the whole idea of like how it takes so long.
I know.
Like it's like, oh, I got a question for you.
Wait 4 hours.
Yep.
Yeah, like that must suck.
And there was that part about like how he would have conversations with Earth, but he's like, but really they're more just like monologues.
Well, it's like when like the friends you have who like you text them and they don't get back to you until
Yeah.
like 3 days later,
Yes.
and then like you might not answer right away,
That's
and
you
so
and Earth.
by so we can probably handle it. We'd
Yeah,
be like, oh yeah, it's
right.
just like that one friend that I text and doesn't get back to me, so our conversations take a week.
So you mean me? I do that, I feel like.
That's so funny. Oh my god.
So I mean, maybe it wouldn't be that weird. I just feel like I'd be scared. I'd be like, what do I do?
I know.
And then 2 hours later, I'd be like, well, no, okay, too late. That's not what I did. So I guess I'm going to die now. Like, you know.
Oh my god.
Can we talk about the part at the whole nuclear weapon thing? Like, I feel like I kind of missed some of that a little bit.
No,
I feel like it's
okay.
very
Such a quick-
convoluted. Missed
Yeah.
that.
Well, let me just
Like,
real
what
quick-
is this
Hold
false
on.
dawn? Was the nuclear bombs going off?
Yeah, I think the idea is that the nukes are in orbit,
I see.
like pointing at countries,
Why?
I see.
What? Why was that happening?
because it's in the future and
So-
that's where we're going
Okay,
as a
wait,
human
but
race.
Before,
Like, left.
yeah, listen. But before we talk about that, when you brought up the Mad Mind, Jared, it reminded me about so the end. Reading it again was very interesting. The first time I think I read it, I like thought about everything very literally, but this time I was thinking about it more figuratively, especially after reading about the Mad Mind and Vanamode, the baby. So he is not physically anything at the end, but his consciousness, since it drew him back to his like infant state, because now he's a baby again. So it's like he's envisioning himself as a baby, as a child. So what does a child do?
Wants to go home.
And like play with everything, like experience
Well, yeah, it does say
the
like
world.
like the Earth was like an irresistible toy.
yeah.
It says
Yeah.
it also says that he preferred a cleaner sky. So this is what that comes from. It
Yes.
says it says 1,000 miles below he became aware that a slumbering cargo of death had awoken and was stirring sluggishly in its orbit. So in its orbit tells you that it's
I
floating.
didn't know
Yeah.
that was a nuclear
But okay,
weapon.
just let me get to what the explanation. I remember, I'm agreeing with you, Heather. I remember at some point I came to the realization that that's what happens. Maybe I read it somewhere else.
Right.
So when I read it this time and I saw that part, I go, oh, in my memory, I went, oh, I remember. Yes, in the book, he destroys all the nukes. So I agree, Heather. It's not.
So that's what that false dawn was he destroyed all the nuclear weapons so they
Yes.
went off in space instead of hitting the countries they were maybe supposed to be aimed at?
Definitely. And
Okay,
I also, also, think about all the information that's given to you in 2010. I bet that's where I got that information.
Maybe.
Wait,
Because
yeah.
they have to explain in 2010, because that's another thing. In the movie, Star Child shows up, epic music, movie's over. There's
Yeah.
never any indication that Earth knows that he's there. In this book, it states clearly that it says he had returned
But-
in time. Down there on that crowded globe, the alarms would be flashing across the
Wait.
radar screens.
Wait, but you know what? It's not him. It's not him, because Earth would by this time have known something was going to happen, right? Because so what Earth is anticipating is not him, but the aliens.
Oh, right.
Okay.
So
yeah.
that's what it is. Like, I just read it like a ton. So as soon as Earth, because Earth is going to know that Earth knows that he disappeared. Earth
Right.
knows that the monolith on
Wait, okay, how
the
does
moon,
Earth know that?
Well, if he's not responding, they naturally would assume he was
Do you
dead
mean
in
Earth,
space.
like the collective people of
Yeah,
Earth?
people
or just
on
the,
Earth.
Or
The
just
people who
the-
are monitoring him.
Yeah, people that
And
were
his
monitoring.
Okay,
drones.
so
like
not
Earth.
like general.
like mission
Earth-
control.
But at the same time, Amy, we don't know how long it took him to become the Star Child. What if it took
True.
less than? What if it took less? Wait, hold on. What if it took less than the amount of time that it takes the signal to get to Earth? My point is, it's not in the text.
Right,
What is
but
he, though?
it
I don't
says
understand
right
what you guys are saying when you're saying Star Child. He is a baby.
No, that's like when
He's a
he's just
he's
conscious.
invisible.
So how does
Heather,
it mean?
let me just hold on.
he's
Let me just.
like-
So how is
electricity.
he going to Earth?
He just
He
went
shot
there.
Pictures
there.
in the movie are there? Is there a baby?
It's
Okay.
just like
I think that's just how you have
It's
to
just how,
visualize
let me
it.
just hold on. I can explain. Okay, like the connection, like the leap that Clarke compared it to. This is the point. Whatever we evolved from, that only lived in the ocean, neither of us could recognize each other.
right.
Like it's that big of a leap. But don't you agree with that, Heather?
So
Don't you agree
What
that in
are
a
the
single-celled
limitations on
organism?
him? If
hold on,
he-
I don't know because he's
so
not
how
real.
does he go to Earth? Is he physically going to Earth, or does he just think like I want to be in Earth and then
Oh,
he's
wait.
there?
Okay,
No.
actually, no. Wait. Read 2010. You'll get all the answers.
Well, no, but I can just
Remember
he has no physical form,
Got it.
none whatsoever.
So how does a no physical form thing get from one place to another?
Easier
So-
than if it had a physical form.
I
Don't you
Exactly.
get
understand
that?
that. Yes.
So
So why is he traveling at all?
Because he wanted
Probably
to
did it
return
in a
there.
second.
It's I'm pretty sure the end explains it.
I mean, it says at the end
Yeah.
of the
No,
second
no,
to
right
last
here,
chapter,
right.
he was back precisely where he wished to be in the space that men called real.
Right. So
That's back from being
So-
transformed. That's not back like in Earth.
But what
yeah,
being
so,
transformed
so
into
I think
not
it-
having a conscious, I mean, only having a consciousness and not having a physical form?
No, he does not have a physical form.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
what she said.
Right. But he I think it's like it's so like it starts with here he was adrift in this great river of suns, halfway between the banked fires of the galactic core and the lonely scattered sentinel stars of the rim. And here those words are italicized. And here he wished to be on the far side of the chasm in the sky, the serpentine band of darkness empty of all stars. So he knew that this formless chaos, visible only by the glow that lined its edges from fire mists far beyond, was still the unused stuff of creation, the raw material of evolution's yet to be. Here, time had not begun, not until the stars that now burned were long since dead, would light and life reshape this void. So it's like he just, wherever he wishes to be,
Heather, you know, like
he can be.
he's God.
So I get that.
Just
I kind of
imagine
feel
God.
like that's what I was saying, and everybody was telling me that I was wrong. Like he's not traveling anywhere. He just is somewhere.
Yes,
So I get that.
but not physically. Because he's
my
not
good
a
God.
physical.
All right. I don't.
it's- but
I
it's
actually, to
not
be
a
honest with you, and I
physical
don't mean
form.
this in a bad way. I actually don't care. Like I'm not trying to. I'm not. I don't mean that in a bad way. But
just
like,
Heather, just imagine, like
I
imagine,
actually just don't care. about
imagine
it.
if you could freely move about the universe without a body. Like, wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't you want to do that?
No.
Okay,
Yeah. Okay.
that's some God
So-
shit. Only God wants to do that.
So I think the end though, I think that's what it is. I think that Earth is like has queued itself up like, oh my gosh, it's exactly what they were avoiding. That's what it is. Earth is doing, like the globe Earth, the people on Earth, all the governments, the entities, whatever. Earth is doing exactly what they were afraid it would do when they found out that there was evidence of alien life. So I think that's what it is by the time like all of this starts going down on the Discovery and everything's happening, like they have to let the world know what is going on.
So they think they're going to get attacked?
Exactly. So they're on guard. So they're like, got all their nukes pointed at the sky, ready for something to happen.
That makes sense.
They don't have any idea that the Star Child, Dave Bowman's consciousness, whatever he's become, is near them. They're on guard for the aliens, quote unquote.
But how are
to
they
come.
ever going to know that he's near them if he's not a thing?
She's
No, I just don't.
making a good point, dude. I'm starting to agree with that.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But how are they going to know?
No,
How is something that doesn't actually exist going
She has
to
a
do
point.
anything?
But they don't. But Earth doesn't know that.
but it says I'm trying to figure this out too. In chapter 47, the last chapter, it says the alarms would be flashing across the radar screens. What radar screen means you picked up something physical. So what is that?
Well, radiation signatures from the nukes, right?
On radar?
Oh, I don't know. I don't
No,
know how
because it
works.
says the alarms would be flashing across the radar screens. The great tracking telescopes would be searching the skies.
Honestly, if there's another book after this, then it doesn't matter that much that doesn't make sense. It truly doesn't, because it says right here he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know his still untested powers. So like it.
But he blows up the nukes because he knows that. I think he blows up the nukes because he knows that what's coming or what everyone thinks is coming is not a bad thing. Like, it's not a bad thing. It's the next step. It's the next evolution.
Right.
He's
No,
like,
I
wait a
mean,
second.
I get that.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I think that ending, it's supposed to be like poetic and pretty at the end there, but I think it's a little confusing. Like, what is flashing across the radar screen? You know, like I just don't.
but
No,
is
it's
it
just the
whose
alarms are
radar
flashing,
screen?
not anything showing up on the radars. Like, the radar would be like hot and ready to go. I think that's just what it means.
We've been waiting for this moment.
Like they're looking for spaceships, basically,
Yeah,
to come
searching
out, but
the
nothing's
skies, like,
coming.
But
looking
I feel like
for
they're gonna get
something, but
really
they're not gonna
scared
find
when something
anything.
destroys all their nukes. They're
Well,
gonna
yeah,
be like,
that's
"Well,
gonna
we're
be
dead now."
Yep. Yeah.
But then somehow this thing that isn't a thing is going to have to be like, no, it's cool. It's just me.
yeah.
I'm just a baby.
exactly.
I'm just a cute little harmless little baby.
Do you ever feel like there is something else? An outward road from Earth? Is our destination here on Mother Gaia or on the other side of the sky? The veil that protects us. Protection can be overbearing and constricting. So if Babe wants to grow up, Babe must leave the cradle. Join your host, Jared Parisi, the dreamiest of the space dreamers, and travel with him on the road to enlightenment via the golden age of science fiction. A new episode of Space Dreamers podcast is released every Thursday on iTunes, Spotify, and all the major podcast channels. Dream away, Space Dreamers.
I think that part that I read had nothing to do with anything. Now that I'm like thinking about it, because there was a better part where it talks about like how it's talking about like the extraterrestrials in general, that I think the closest thing that we have is spirit to understand what, like it's like he's a ghost.
Nah, kid, Wi-Fi.
What?
Okay, it's easy to understand this, right? Cord.
No, don't. It's not easy for me to understand anything.
Okay, but the
like
point is, but the point is, you can you can see.
Okay,
I
yeah,
talk into
you're
this.
right.
It goes from here. It goes into here, and then it's here.
Right.
Fucking Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
This shit's wireless.
It's
Like, information
unbelievable.
flies,
I
right?
think that's
Yeah.
crazy. I choose not to think about it that much, because then I would be like,
Okay, had we known this, we definitely would have just said stop reading after he falls into the Stargate.
they
If you
should make a
can't
ride
handle-
out of that.
if
They
you
should
can't
make
handle
a
Wi-Fi.
2001 Space Odyssey like theme park.
You'd just be sitting there.
Yeah, but you'd be like
There'd
driving
be like
around.
monkeys with bones. You'd be like, this is as boring as the movie.
But then you'd be like going through, and you'd be
I would
like,
definitely
seeing
go. I would
stuff.
go. I
I'd
would
go.
definitely
It would be
go.
like that part in Thor when he's like strapped into that chair and just like riding through there.
Yes.
It would be cool.
So, anything else? like I said, I don't really know what to say.
I just love this book so much.
Did you tell people did anybody have anything that they wanted to say about it? Did you tell people we were talking about?
No. I mean, what are you going to, like, what can you say? You know what I mean? It's
I don't know. I mean, it's a nice short little book. It only took me, like I said, like a week to read it. And I wish I had maybe been able to spend like a little bit more time, like, figuring it out, I guess. But
it's so cool too. Like, imagine finding something. Like, imagine even if we don't find life, imagine finding just something
Evidence
that
that
proves,
something
like,
had-
just something.
Yeah, that something was before us.
Reading that part in this book, I was like, I really thought about it. I was like, that would be so amazing. Like, here we are, like, so concentrated on, like, hearing a voice, you know, from the stars or finding physical, actual life. But what if we just found an artifact? Like, how friggin' cool would that be? Like,
I mean,
it's just awesome.
It would be cool. Maybe they already have found that and they're just not telling us.
Maybe.
Yeah, there's all
Because
kinds
because it would just blow our minds.
A lot of people believe that.
And we do silly things like start, you know, shooting nukes up into space.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that humans cannot handle like
Yeah.
any information that they don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, we have a real problem.
In general, but I think though that, like, with the fact that, like, you know, David Bowman was able to handle it, that you got to think there are some people out there. And I feel like it makes you think, like, I hope I'd be one of those people
that could handle just
that could handle it.
confronting-
Yeah.
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 And that you were adaptable that way to just keep going in a different form.
Because I would I would want to experience that.
Mm-hmm.
Me too. Dude, you
Yeah.
got to watch Contact, Amy.
Yeah.
The movie Contact?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that in the theater.
Lucky you.
Isn't that a really long movie?
I don't know. I mean, any heady space movie that's meant to make you think should be long.
But it's
I have
kind of
no
like,
problem
isn't
with
there
that.
like a time
Yeah.
thing in that movie, like where something happens and it's like in the reality that we're used to, it only took a very short amount of time.
In that amount of time, I forgot what movie we're talking about.
Contact.
Okay, yes, Contact. Okay,
Like, isn't
What's
she
your
in like
question?
a thingy and then it's
don't
like,
ruin it.
never mind. Sorry.
But
I
yeah,
feel like you've told me some things about it already, and I
I
already
told
wanted to
you like
watch
the
it.
beginning. I
Yeah.
didn't tell you like the
Okay.
end.
All right. So don't ruin it.
Yeah. There was
Oh
a
my God, look at this question. Look at the second question.
What's the second question?
That's not the monkey's name.
wait, an artificial intelligent being, an extra. Let me see.
Is this the
Calling
quiz
down
that
the
you
moon, a
found?
spaceship.
Yeah. No,
None-
it
none
says,
of-
what does the monolith do to Moon Dancer?
Oh, I thought you were showing me the.
So the answer,
not
the answer to that
Moon Dancer.
question would be
Nothing.
his
Trick
name is not.
question.
Yeah, it is a trick question.
Moon Dancer.
Dancer.
I guess that's a different book.
You know, my gosh, I just thought about it too. His name is Moon Watcher, and they find the monolith on the moon.
Okay, so that was obvious enough for me to be like, oh.
No, but like that's
no, because Moonwatcher is Bowman. Bowman didn't find nothing on the moon.
what?
Moonwatcher
Moonwatcher
is the monkey.
I know, but he plays the same role that Bowman plays 3 million years ago.
Yeah, but just saying it's like a foreshadowing.
True.
Like
Yeah.
Moon Watcher.
Watching the moon.
Yeah.
Because
which
weren't
actually
there recently
now,
like
like, I'm thinking about
monoliths
it.
that appeared.
Yeah.
What was
yeah,
that all
some
about?
artists started
was an-
popping monoliths
Yeah,
up
it was
all
an
over
art.
the
It was a
world.
person.
Yeah. But I guess like it would
Was
make
it?
sense that we would be
Most likely.
Or are they just not telling us something?
I don't know.
I mean, there are all these new stories out there about UFOs and stuff about it possibly is real. Like, have y'all noticed that? That's like in the news a lot all of a sudden.
what?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like all these new news reports coming out of like these UFO files being
Yeah, the United States government keeps
and they've been lying to us.
they
but
keep
no.
they keep claiming that they're gonna like tell us. Something.
Yeah,
and it's
and
like
then they
no,
don't.
you're not.
Yeah,
They're never going.
And it's always like if you read the articles, they're always stupid and tell you nothing. But
Well, so the monoliths were kind of like what, like crop circles or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that those
I guess.
appear.
Modern
And we're
day
like,
crop circles. That some artists probably couldn't do anything else because it was COVID. So he was like, all right, let's do this instead.
Yeah.
Like, socially distance me in the woods, putting this in the
In the middle of the desert. Yeah.
So, yeah. Actually, interestingly enough, about the woods, I listened to an interview with my favorite comic book writer, artist guy. His name's Rick Veitch. And he was talking about back in the day. So comic books are like, you don't just have like a writer and a drawer. You there's like someone does the
An
inking.
illustrator.
No. So someone does the ink, someone does the ink, someone
Yeah.
does do lettering. It's like
Yeah.
different people have
Okay.
different roles.
That's cool.
Oh, wow.
So this guy, Rick Veitch, said he went to a school, I believe in New York City, to make comics, and he intentionally learned how to do everything because he knew that he never wanted to live in a city. So and he's from Vermont, dude. So he lives up in like, so that he can
That's
live up in the
neat.
woods
And just do it all
literally
himself.
do it all himself.
I
That's
can't
neat.
imagine
Right.
being that smart
And-
that you think of that. I'm gonna want to live in the
and-
woods, so I'm gonna need to learn how to do all
You
this.
just have
And
to
then
be
the-
that antisocial to think of that. Like,
I
how can I
guess.
get away from people as
Right.
much as possible?
And then technology advanced, and now it doesn't matter
yeah, right.
because you could just do your part, hit send.
This is true.
They could do their part, send it back.
So there you go, Rick.
Yeah.
Not that smart.
Talk to Rick that way.
No, sorry, Rick. I bet you're awesome. I think it's cool that you thought that. I think that's really smart that you thought that.
Yeah. So what else? Anything else going on? What's going on with you guys?
I can't believe that this is what came after Glide Path. How far between Glide Path and this? How much time?
63, 68, 5 years.
Wow.
Wow, 5 years.
Although I do see a good, like I feel like I saw a better, more cohesive storytelling. I think we talked about that in Glide Path. So thank gosh he got it like figured out there.
I vaguely remember Rendezvous with Rama having the same kind of voice. But at the
Yeah,
same
I
time,
think so.
at the same time,
Yeah.
the number one thing about this novel is that there's no main characters, and like there's barely any dialogue. There's barely any characters.
Right.
So, but I remember Rendezvous with Rama. I feel like has characters, like
Yeah.
more like it's
That
like
you're
a team
with,
of people.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
you're with through the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely not just following one main character.
Wait, so what novel comes after this novel?
I thought it was 2010. Isn't
Nah,
it?
it's
No?
Imperial
No.
Earth. Nah,
No.
we have. That's the thing. This is what we have
Yeah.
to discuss, dude.
Right.
I want to read 2010 right now so bad. Actually,
Right.
this kind of threw me off, but I so badly just want to continue.
Yeah.
the Odyssey,
You just said Imperial Earth, so then
then Rendezvous with Rama.
really?
Interesting.
Dude, this was written in '68. The other one came
Oh,
out in
wow.
'82.
Oh wow!
He wrote a bunch of books in the '70s. Not a bunch, like 3 or
See-
4 or 5, maybe.
See, I'm really
That's a bunch.
As much as I want to go straight into the sequel, I am really enjoying seeing his evolution as an author.
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
like after this being so standout from, and obviously done through a completely different process than his other work, I actually kind of do want to see where it goes from here and how he gets to the next parts.
I've decided through this conversation and the
Yeah.
fact that I started this, I have to finish this,
Yeah,
so it's going to slow
definitely.
me down.
Yeah.
But like, I agree. But the next one is actually a GD collection of short stories, which I have no desire to read, but who wants to read it with me?
A
What
collection of short stories.
what is the collection?
I think it's called The Wind from the Sun.
Interesting. How many stories do you know?
No.
Sun has wind.
Solar winds. I don't know. Is that
I
true?
don't know.
I don't know. I'll read
Well,
it. I'll read it.
there's like a very famous story
gonna read
called
Imperial?
"Sail Me to the Moon" or something. Like,
Oh, because I think that's like a song.
yeah. Back in the day, dude. Back in the day, people literally thought that they could sail to the moon.
I
Really?
think that is a song, right? Yeah.
Having a normal understanding of space is a very recent
it's like
thing.
I
Could
guess
you
you're right.
It's
imagine
like
that?
a crooner.
A schooner?
But yet,
Crooner
Oh my
type
God.
of a song.
But then-
crooner sings it.
oh, I know. I know the song that you're thinking of. Yeah, it's like "Fly Me to the Moon" or something. Isn't it?
I think so. But what is this?
What?
What?
Sail Me to the Moon?
Sail me to the moon. I think that
So,
sail. Yeah.
Wait a minute. So, so the collections of short stories are not when he wrote them, but when they were collected.
Yes. Or when they were published. I'm going by publication.
Oh my
date.
goodness. Sail Me.
I gotcha.
Sail. Oh no,
Okay.
that's called Sail to the Moon. Sail to the Moon.
It probably
it's
is.
Fly Me to the Moon is
Sail
Frank
to the Moon.
Sinatra.
Oh, there we go.
Sail to the Moon is a Radiohead song.
Okay.
Oh.
Um.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, I was wrong.
What?
So next is The Wind from the Sun, then Rendezvous with Rama,
Really?
Imperial
On
Earth,
Imperial Earth.
Fountains of Paradise, 2010.
Whether I'm included or not in Rendezvous with Rama, I definitely want to read that.
I do
I'm-
too.
I'm
It's
trying
been
to-
so long. I want to
I
read it
know.
again.
Wait, so there's how many books in this series?
4.
I think Heather needs to read Rendezvous with Rama too.
So what's the next one?
In the series?
2010.
Yes.
2010.
2010 Odyssey 2.
Then 3,000.
No.
20.
2035? No.
What? Okay.
You guys
Someone
done?
just say it.
Oh, yeah,
All
we're
right.
done. We're done. What is it?
2061 Odyssey 3.
61. That's what it is.
2061.
You know why,
That
Heather?
hasn't even happened yet.
You don't know why.
No.
Because that's the next time Halley's Comet is
That's
going to be
right,
coming around, and that's like a pretty big part of the book. And then
Yeah.
the final one, Heather, is
Oh, yeah.
3001.
Okay, I
Dude,
totally
Odyssey
remember
3.
all that now.
Odyssey 3
Okay.
might be my. I remember it being my favorite.
Saying Rendezvous with Rama had something to do with this.
Oh, no.
I was just saying in terms of tone, the way it's written.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So what did you like better? I mean, I'm assuming you like 2001 better than Childhood's End, but
Yeah.
because like what are his most popular ones are Childhood's End, 2001. What else?
Rendezvous with Rama.
Rendezvous with Rhonda.
Oh, I want to read that book.
Imagine
right.
they get to they get to Rama, and inside it's some lady named Rhonda.
Just like lady
like,
alien. Hi, I'm Rhonda.
I've been waiting for you.
She's like, I came from the galaxy next door. Y'all got any sugar?
That's awesome.
Oh, my Lord.
All right. Should we wrap this up?
I think we need to. We're getting
Sure.
silly.
Yeah.
All right. So, well, the next episode, let's discuss this since we're on here. So, the next episode is going to be about the movie.
Okay.
Just about the movie.
Oh, okay.
So, you guys are going away next weekend.
Yep.
Yep.
So,
So are we.
I know.
Oh. Okay.
So, I'm thinking, well, if you're going to watch, do you want to just do a 4-way 2 weeks from now?
Yeah.
It's fine with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, do you think, Amy, you could read The Wind from the Sun by 2 weeks from now? We can bang out 2 episodes in a weekend?
Yeah.
Sweet.
All right.
Why'd you making that face, Heather? Because you got a trip going on. You got a book
but it's
to read.
I read Glide Path in 1 week. I read this in 1 week.
I think it's just hard because I have so many other books I want to read.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. This is all I'm focusing on.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, we at least have the next 2 episodes figured out.
There you go.
Rendezvous with Rama is apparently 2U. If you want to read, you can. Let's do 4 ways for the rest of the freaking
I
thing,
know.
dude.
I would love to hear Heather's input on Rama after this one.
After I had such really awesome things
No,
to say about
it's
this.
it's so but Rendezvous with Rama is based on like real, like there's none of this Star Child stuff.
So
and
maybe
I
will
think
like it.
I think that you will, because you'll also see, I think, a lot of you'll also see a lot of like inspiration from like other, like where other like sci-fi films and things have come from. Because like after reading that book and then watching like certain movies, I'm always like, oh, Rendezvous with Rama. Like, I don't know, it's very cool. And it's like adventure based, and
Rendezvous with Rama happened in real life like a couple years ago.
All right, then don't tell me
What?
anything else about Rendezvous with Rowan.
At least
I'll
the
read that.
beginning.
The hell?
I feel like there should be another instance of somebody like writing a movie. I mean, writing a book and a movie like at the same time.
Well, dude, that's what I'm saying.
Cool.
That's why I feel.
Yeah.
That's why I think this movie, the movie and the book, are just so unique in their own medium.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I mean, I think that that's an interesting, like, to look at it that way. I do think that that's something that, you know, to look at a book and a movie as two different parts of something.
Yeah. What you
Yeah.
read from that book was really interesting. Like, I've never, thought about it that way, but it really makes sense.
What? Who read from what book?
You read from that book
Oh.
about how.
Wait, you're talking about this book?
No, I'm talking about
She's
the
talking
fact
about
that this
2001.
movie, I mean, this book was like,
Written at the same time. What do you say?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm saying
that's cool.
that's really cool. I'd never thought about, like, Heather was just saying,
I wish somebody else would do that. It's a really
yes,
interesting concept.
exactly. And when you read that paragraph explaining it, like, why it had to be done the way that it was done, I was like, that's such a great idea. Like, I feel like you would get so many great things out of a process like that.
Right. And I think this whole thing has made me think
Mm-hmm.
about what I was talking about earlier, that why when a book gets made into a movie,
Right.
do we feel like, I don't mean we, I mean most
Yeah,
people,
yeah.
where we get so obsessed with it being faithful to the book. And it's like a book and a movie are two very different ways of telling a story. So I think that it's, maybe I'll stop doing that. Like I'll stop comparing them to each other so much, or at least how they, like there's other books and movies that I think to myself, like kind of like what you were saying, like I like the way that this was done better in the movie,
Yeah.
even though it's not the original way that it was
Right.
done, I still like it better. Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of cool to think about that.
Yeah. Wait, there was someone else. Oh, yeah. It was interesting. Like through this, and I also think that, not that it's impossible, but I think it's also just like a perfect moment in time. In that, one of the things they go through, I never realized this, was that this movie made science fiction a respectable genre of film. Prior
that.
to, because this is pre-Star Wars.
Yeah.
Prior to this movie coming out, they both talk about how they're like, sci-fi is not taken seriously, and literally our goal is to have it be taken seriously.
Right.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yes.
Because they have all these letters in this book between the mailing each other letters.
Yeah.
And each of them get into the fact that they're like Clarke says in a letter, there are only two good science fiction movies. One of them is The Day the Earth Stood Still, and one of them is Forbidden Planet. And that's it. And like even Kubrick was even like, I agree. So we should end that. And so what it makes me want to do is take something that no one takes seriously and make it good. Like
Right.
to be the first one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you
Yeah.
have to find that thing. And the other thing, it's just so cool. Like, again, when I said, so that was their goal, and that could only be their goal at that time when sci-fi wasn't taken seriously.
Right.
And also, these are just two men. The way this guy describes Kubrick and Clarke is that they were equal in like how egotistical they were, but they weren't. Like, they both recognized their own genius, but they never stood on each other's toes. Like, they knew
That's
their
cool.
lanes.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting. He talks too about how everyone thinks Kubrick was this like crazy control freak, and he had final say on everything.
Oh, right.
And this dude dug up like the contract for 2001, and like so much of it was, not so much of it, but like a decent amount of it was up to the head of the studio. And
Oh,
it's like,
wow.
so that's a myth.
Yeah.
There's so many myths like that, though, that people love to like cling to.
But and even like the deal they worked out, dude. For instance, Kubrick, you have to understand, like, if you're a genius, right, you're probably going to be a genius in more than one way. Like, you're going to be really smart with your money.
Oh.
So you might look at Kubrick and think, that dude's just trying to screw people over. But no, he's just smart. For instance, Kubrick got 40% of the book.
Of the royalties?
Wow.
Yeah.
Damn.
Clarke got 60. And Clarke got nothing in terms of, like, royalties for the movie. He was paid, like, a flat rate. Like, a really good flat rate. But, like,
Interesting.
Wow.
But he talks about how Kubrick in the end was guaranteed $4.5 million in today's dollars. The whole budget for the movie.
whoa.
The whole budget for the movie was like $6 million.
Yeah.
Right.
But he was guaranteed $4.5 million. Clarke was guaranteed like $800,000 in today's
Oh, wow.
dollars.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wait, I have a question.
But at the
How-
same time, one other thing that they also go into that Kubrick put up every bit of money up front was all Kubrick. So anyway,
how was this movie received when it came out?
so he talks about that people think that it was like loved, but at the time it wasn't. And the other thing is he talks about is how word doesn't travel as fast then.
Yeah.
So it was premiered in New York City. So these uppity New York City people were like, that was trash. Like that was, you know what I mean? Like that was, I walked out, I was bored, blah, blah, blah. But then as it got around, people like warmed up to it, I guess. Dude, another crazy thing is Kubrick was trying to get this other dude to do the special effects. But the guy hated Kubrick. But he was like, all right, well, like, so he was like, he decided to come on anyway. And while he was doing it, dude, another thing they talk about Kubrick, everyone describes Kubrick as a sponge. He said that if you wanted to, like, if you wanted to teach him something, he knew it. Like, he would know it as soon as you told it to him. He wanted to know everything, kind of like Rick Veitch. But he says that my brain's broken today. Where was I going?
He was a spy.
Oh yeah, the special effects guy. While he was doing the special effects on 2001, he was only there for a year. But while he was doing it, he was teaching Kubrick how to do it.
Oh.
So the dude left because he couldn't stand Kubrick. Guess who won the Oscar for best visual effects?
Oh my gosh, Kubrick.
Stanley Kubrick.
That's
Oh
crazy.
wow.
He was
Oh
like,
my
"All right, bro,
God.
you want to leave my masterpiece? Go ahead. No Oscars
How
for
many
you."
Oscars did this movie win?
I don't know. I have
So
a
it was-
feeling it was only for special effects.
So was it critically well received?
Yeah, but like not from everyone.
Yeah. Okay.
Is that guy still alive? Because he probably knows how it was all done. If he taught him everything.
I doubt it.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, the other thing that like no one knows because he was doing it for the first time and he was also extremely secretive about his projects. Like everyone who came in had to sign like a non-disclosure act, like all these things. And wait, there was one other thing I wanted to say about that I learned in the book. Oh yeah, another thing in the contract, dude. Everything that Clarke wrote about this experience had to be approved by Kubrick. Like he
Oh,
could not publish
really?
anything. Yeah, and in the book, there's all these like the guy will print what Clarke wrote and then print what Kubrick said wasn't okay.
Oh wow.
Well, then that does make him sound controlling.
But at the same time, that's the thing is when you read it, you realize that like some of the things he was correcting, Clarke was wrong about.
Oh.
So it's like this mutual thing.
Just kind of helped each other make each other their best
Yeah.
versions of
And
themselves.
so I'll just tell one story in terms of that. Like he talks about how, so initially they weren't sure what they were going to base the book on or the movie on. So Polaris, the company that Kubrick owned, bought 6 of Clarke's short stories. And so at the end, what ended up only being like the credit was the one story called The Sentinel. So then after Clarke was like, hey dude, can I get my stories back? And they were like, no, you got to buy them back. Okay, but wait. So then Clarke was going to publish this thing that said that Kubrick charged him more for his own stories than any editor had ever paid him for his own stories.
Wow.
Guess what Kubrick's correction was?
That.
Bro, I bought him off you or you bought him off me for less than I bought him off of you. Or I'm sorry, for more. I'm sorry.
Right.
That was wrong. Kubrick corrected Clarke and saying, hey dude,
Oh.
I sold them back to you for less than
than-
what I paid for them.
Still like a douchey move, though.
It's
I mean,
business.
yeah.
If you sign a contract, if you sell the rights to
Right.
something, you sell the rights to something.
Yeah.
It's business.
Yeah, well, then that doesn't sound like the whole story.
Okay.
If he was like, I want this
Also the movie, but it's all hindsight, dude. The book also gets into the fact Clarke was like, I'm not getting paid very much for this. He's like, but I've always wanted to break into movies, and this is the absolute best place to put my name above a Stanley Kubrick production.
Right.
And it obviously, I mean, here we are today. Like,
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
so anyway, all right, let's end it. We'll just do a quick ending. Next week, we're talking about the movie.
Nice.
So go watch it. Come back and listen. And yeah. Anyway, thank you for joining us. This has been a crazy little experiment. I'm glad it went off pretty well. And see you next time.
Bye. You guys can say bye.
Oh, bye.
Bye.
Is there a 2001 themed goodbye?
But he would think of something. We're not sure what we're going to do next week.
Wait, you know what's the
but we
best?
would think of something.
Right? No, what about Oh, I can't think of it.
What?
I couldn't remember. My brain is dead, dude.
Too much. It's because you're
Oh
thinking
yeah,
about
the last
this.
thing that Earth heard. Remember from Bowman? I love that, dude.
Oh, I love
and,
that.
And that's not in the movie, dude.
It's
I
full
don't
of
remember. What was it?
stars.
Oh my God, it's hollow. No, it's hollow.
Oh my God, it's
Yeah.
full of stars.
No. Oh my God, it's hollow and it's full of stars.
What?
It's hollow, dude.
No,
it's hollow.
It's the thing's hollow. It goes on forever, and,
And,
oh my God, it's full of stars.
Yeah,
All right, then that should be your ending right there.
yeah, it's full of stars.
It's full of stars.
Peace. What's up, Space Dreamers? Thank you so much for joining us on this wild and crazy quad podcast episode. The first time we've done 4 people all chit-chatting away about the amazing Arthur C. Clarke. It was a lot of fun. It was different. The whole episode was different, which changes up my credits here, my thanking people here. But I got to do it anyway. I have to give a huge shout out to all my co-hosts this time. We had Amy, we had Mallory, we had Heather. They all read the book. Couldn't be more thankful for that. And created a stimulating discussion. So thank you to all of them for joining me and listening to my mad ravings about Space Odyssey, Stanley Kubrick, Arthur C. Clarke, and the Making of a Masterpiece, the book by Michael Benson, which we referenced quite a bit in this episode. That book, at the time of my recording this that you're hearing right now, I have finished that book, and I can't give enough praise to Michael Benson and just to the book in general. If you're interested in film history, if you're interested in Kubrick, Clarke, or just really good movies, you should totally read it. But anyway, also I want to say a big thank you to Kevin Lesage for making all the music that you hear in this episode, as well as all the other episodes so far. We did not do any voiceovers for this one, similar to ACC 10. This episode is ACC 11, it being the 11th novel by Clarke in chronological order. ACC 10 was not a sci-fi novel, so we didn't do any voiceovers with epic descriptions of space and all that. I decided not to do that for this episode as well, simply because it was just such a weird and different episode. And, I mean, I don't know, we didn't really reference any of the moments. Not only that, I also, while reading 2001 this time, I started marking sections that were amazing, but then I just stopped because I personally think that novel is, as I said, there's not a single wasted word. Everything is there intentionally. Everything is needed, and nothing is unneeded. Nothing is wasted. And finally, a big shout out to Quinlan, though, for doing the ads that you heard, which are fun. One of them is fun, one of them is serious. But thank you, Quinlan, for the next episode. I actually said in this episode incorrectly that the next book is Imperial Earth, when it is in fact Rendezvous with Rama, which I'm sure you know, if you're a Clarke fan, is a totally awesome book. In real time right now, I started it. I'm about 50 pages in, and I love it. Second time I'm reading it. But anyway, for that episode, Rama, that'll be a normal episode with voiceovers from Quinlan, so stick around for that. That's going to be awesome. Please follow me on Instagram at The Space Dreamers. I post awesome pictures, quotes from the things that we're consuming that are science fiction. I have a lot of fun over there. It would be dope if you could join me. Also, please give me a review on the podcasts app if you listen via an iPhone or the podcast app. Give me a 5-star review. Leave a review. I don't necessarily know how Spotify works, but follow me over there. I don't know if you can rate it, but if you can, please do it. That would be so lovely. Also, I'm on YouTube. It's just the audio. But if for whatever reason you are on YouTube and you feel like listening to people yammer on about Clarke, you can check me out on YouTube. Thank you so much again, and please just keep dreaming about space, read awesome books, watch cool sci-fi movies, expand your horizons, and root for man's, or rather humanity's, exploration of space. I think not much bad can come of that. So thank you again for joining me, and keep dreaming. Join us next time. Later.
This has been a Su Madre production. Thank you for joining us.